Ladies and gentlemen, we are live at 2:59 and 47 seconds Central Time, coming to you from Austin, Texas, transmitting worldwide. Our team is on the ground in Spokane, Washington. Again, live breaking special report from multiple demonstrations with more than 300 people on the streets protesting the martial law plan that's being revealed in America. The outlawing of dissent and a war on veterans, gun owners, libertarians, constitutionalists, or anyone else that will not submit to world government and tyranny. Our reporters are live on the ground. We're going to give you this special, at least 2-hour live transmission coming up, starting now on this Saturday, December 20th, 2014 global transmission.
As a community moves towards despotism, respect is restricted to fewer people.
That's veteran Denver police officer Charles Jones IV smashing an unarmed suspect in the face 6 times.
Officers accused of using excessive force on a suspect and then trying to erase the evidence.
I'm observing what they're doing and they're harassing me. I don't understand what's going on.
A community rates low on an information scale when the press, radio, and other channels of communication are controlled by only a few people.
Does it raise ethical questions about the use of government money to produce stories about the government that wind up being aired with no disclosure that they were produced by the government?
How can you ask such a question?
What difference at this point does it make?
When a competent observer looks for signs of despotism in a community, he looks beyond fine words and noble phrases.
There are actions I have the legal authority to take as president that will help make our immigration system more fair and more just. Tonight, I'm announcing those actions.
What I say goes, see? I'm the law around here.
We came, we saw, he died.
Yes, in modern warfare, our military leaders are finding that words and ideas are highly effective weapons.
We just have to be repetitive about this. We need to do this every day of the week and just really brainwash people into thinking about guns in a vastly different way.
We are trained to deceive if we have to. You really don't have to trust me. You shouldn't trust me. In fact, by my actually participating in that, I will taint the news.
In communities of this kind, despotism stands a good chance.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
Okay, Ms. Hughes, well, we're going to do everything we can to help
you. Resistance to tyrants is obedience to God. It's the Alex Jones Show, because there is a war on for your mind.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are live, transmitting worldwide from the Infowars.com studios, deep in the heart of Texas, Austin. It is 3 o'clock and 3 minutes into this day, the 20th day of December, 2014. I want to thank our great supporters out there and viewers for making this transmission possible, and for all of your prayers, also for our great reporters on the ground in Spokane, Washington, and for Jakari Jackson, Rob Dew, Nico Acosta, and of course, Marcos Morales and others that are here working on this special Saturday transmission. I'll be live on the radio as well tomorrow, simulcasted on television at prisonplanet.tv as well, 4 to 6 o'clock Central Standard Time. We're going to be here this evening from 3 o'clock Central, at least until 5 o'clock Central. We may go longer if any of the sheriff's deputies and police that have been federalized try to violate the First Amendment. But we're not seeing any of that at this point, because the constitutionalists that are out there protesting today, as you would imagine, are extremely law-abiding, and that is the issue here. Before you saw the helicopters and the armored vehicles and the giant wheeled tanks rolling out, I warned you, going back 20 years ago, of the globalist program to basically take over this country. Not because I was psychic, but because I had a lot of amazing sources out there in government, outside of government, military, FBI, you name it, that were telling us of the secret deployment and development plan for an authoritarian, totalitarian, despotic takeover here in America. And something that's really educated people is the fact that so many of these documents are now public. And then when the outgoing head of Homeland Security was challenged, Janet Napolitano, about it, she said, of course our main focus is not radical Islamicists or drug cartels, our bank robbers, or the occasional people that take hostages. Very rare, but still an issue. I could see big cities having some armored vehicles and things for when things like this happen. They're saying the #1 threat is returning veterans, gun owners, Christians, conservatives, libertarians. And I know I harp on this because we're the ones that broke it. And it's good news that finally this is talked about by Glenn Beck, by Rush Limbaugh, by Sean Hannity. We are forcing mainline conservative media to tackle the fact that the Democratic Party and the UN, I mean, these are the groups lobbying, are trying to outlaw dissent by anyone right of Mao Zedong, anyone right of Joe Stalin, anyone right of Pol Pot, anyone right of Fidel Castro. Now, the left-right paradigm is false within the way they manipulate us against each other, when we also just want basic freedom and liberty. But they do operate within the false left-right paradigm. They blamed Rush Limbaugh within 45 minutes of Oklahoma City in 1995. The President of the United States blamed Rush Limbaugh within 45 minutes. Think about that. And tried to blame free speech and talk radio for Oklahoma City. And then you go and you research Oklahoma City, you find out it's a false flag, a staged event to blame the huge libertarian conservative movement that was going to get us out of the UN, get rid of the UN treaties that take over our sovereignty, Agenda 21, you name it. The Oklahoma legislature had already passed a resolution to have the state not comply. And they hit them, and they hit them hard. To be the victims. The oldest trick in the book. In fact, it's well known in criminology that about half the time that women call the police saying they've been beaten, it's not true. Just like most racial attacks, it turns out, whether it's white or black, almost every time, and I'm a news hound, but you can look this up, you hear about a white woman being raped by 5 black guys in some southern town, and then they cut things on her. She made it up and cut herself. Nobody raped her. And conversely, you can find the exact same stories where black women do it and say white guys raped them. Remember the whole lacrosse team thing? This just is the oldest trick in the book. And the reason we're covering this here today and these historic protests, we're going to go live to those coming up in a little while. We have some special reports that Darren McBreen and others have filed we're going to air here. That if we don't expose the fact that they are preparing and saying the #1 threat is gun owners and conservatives and libertarians and pro-lifers and Ron Paul supporters and InfoWars supporters. And they need armored vehicles and helicopters and because their main threat is us. That tells you they're going to stage stuff to blame it on us and start a civil war, which they're now openly talking about. And they've rolled out their task forces. They're out there provocateuring. So instead of provocateuring radical Islamicists to stage attacks, as the New York Times was forced to admit, 99 out of 100 lone wolf Islamicist plots in the last 10 years. You can just type in the headline, I forget the exact headline. FBI created fake terror plots, New York Times. 99 out of 100 were completely staged with mentally ill people they went and set up. They're now doing that, trying to find mentally ill people who they can say are libertarians or conservatives or visit Infowars.com or like Rand Paul. There it is, terrorist plots hatched by the FBI. The United States has been narrowly saved from lethal terrorist plots in recent years, or has it seemed? And it goes on to say, but all of these dramas were facilitated by the FBI, whose undercover agents and informers pose as terrorists, and then it goes on. And what I'm saying is they're now shifting, and they admitted this 4 years ago. Big Sis came out when we put out the MIAC reports and others that were secret and classified. They said, yeah, those are real, and that is the main threat. And they said, we're now shifting, you can type this in, Homeland Security now shifting from Islamicist threat to homegrown patriot, and with no activity or nothing. I mean, a few shootouts with cops with people that are patriots. I mean, statistically, it's not even a blip, but they just hype it on CNN, MSNBC every week in Arkansas and a few other events where they pull over sovereign citizen types and they say, I'm not going to jail and shoot the cops. I think that's terrible. It's not good, but it's not even registering on the radar blip on the graphs. Honeybees kill about 250 people a year. What is it, like something like 6,000 cops I saw them die a year being run over while they're writing tickets. I mean, we're talking about 3 or 4 cops a year get shot by patriots. You would think with the ADL and Southern Poverty Law Center training that it is the end of the world. And that when you pull somebody over with an NRA sticker, that they're going to kill you. In fact, we have inside the LAPD, it was a History Channel or Discovery Channel show years ago. I played the clip on air. It was one of their episodes where a veteran of World War II has died in his house. He's been dead a week. They go in and make fun of his dead body. The cops all go, I'm going to keep these guns. They're legal guns. And they go out and look at his old Bronco that's got an NRA sticker. They first make fun of his rotting body. And then they go out and they go, look at this. This is the enemy. Look at this scum. He has an NRA sticker. And he had like semi-auto M1 Grands from Korea and stuff that he'd been in. So I looked on the walls. It was like American flags and coffee cups at his desk, and his wife had died. We looked into who the guy was and had some of his neighbors on. I made a big deal about it. It was like 12 years ago. That was longer. That was 1999, about 14 years ago. And I'm going to get into the news here in a moment. I'm just giving you a flavor of this. They made fun of his dead body. He had no criminal record. The neighbors called the police because they hadn't seen him in a week. They go in his house and they make fun of him and his dead body because he's got an NRA sticker. And then talk about how they're going to keep his guns and I want this one, I want that one. The cops were so disconnected from reality, they were criminally talking about what guns they were going to keep for themselves with a dead World War II vet and Korean War vet. In fact, guys, it's now on all these different IMDb's, you name it. They had a Discovery Channel show, I think of it, called Inside the Navy, Inside the Marines, Inside the LAPD, Inside the FBI. I want to find that episode of Inside the LAPD, and I want to find that archive. I want to buy it on disc. I want to do a whole show like I did back in '99 about that, where they make fun of the dead body. Again, this shows the mental illness of the federal training they've been given. That in my own film, Road to Tyranny, they pull over Abby Newman, no criminal record, Navy veteran, honorably discharged, driving into town in Virginia to buy canning supplies for their farm. The cop, she's at a checkpoint. They're searching everybody's cars. She says, are you looking for somebody? They go, no, it's just a checkpoint. She goes, no, you can't. They drag her out, go through her car, and find a pocket Constitution and a Patriot Games VHS, Patriot Games with U.S. government propaganda. Tom Clancy, Steve Pachinik. They start hyperventilating. It's on the video. Scared of the word patriot. Yeah, there's the video. They're showing it. It's towards the end of the 3-hour film, Road to Tyranny. They start hyperventilating and going, I can't believe she got a pocket Constitution. I mean, this is brainwashing. It's been going on behind the scenes forever. Now it's accelerating. Now it's blossoming. And so you've seen Forbes and Reuters and AP. The Pentagon trains to take on their new enemy, the Tea Party. Brigade Homeland to deal with the Tea Party. Big Red 1, U.S. Army trains to take on gun owners. This is our country. We pay the taxes. If they wanted an MRAP and it was for the occasional bank robbery or suspects hold up, I wouldn't have an issue because I want guns. I think citizens should be able to have MRAPs that don't have a criminal record. You can turn a tractor into one. Should be able to have a knife. I could turn that into a weapon, a baseball bat. The point is they say get rid of profiling because we're not going to be racist or whatever. It's nothing to do with that. Of course you profile. Someone's a 3-time loser. Someone's been a child molester. Someone's been a bank robber. Well, they don't really have all their rights, do they? Because they are already profiled and convicted. But when you say the most law-abiding segment of the society in every demographic, conservative, libertarian, veterans of every race, color, and creed, Christians, concealed carry holders are the #1 enemy. That's the criminals that have hijacked our government, preparing their army like Mordor to march through the gates and take us on. So we have to go out, because it isn't just Spokane, Washington. We've written at least 6, 7 articles the last couple of years where sheriffs have been asked, why are you getting armored vehicles? The last 2, why are you getting MRAPs from Iraq and Afghanistan? I mean, these are the biggest wheeled tanks. Joe Biggs never saw wheeled tanks this big in Afghanistan and Iraq. He was just in a few years ago and was famously blown up in 2 of them. And Joe Biggs was there. This MRAP he saw was so big, it's bigger than anything he ever saw. He just got out 3 years ago. I say famously blown up at him. He was Esquire embedded, Rolling Stone, you name it, and just happened to be on missions where they got, where this kind of stuff went on. I mean, they are rolling out with our money and not saying it's for the occasional bank robber. We'd still be suspicious and say it's really for us because we know what's really going on. But no, 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 no. No, ladies and gentlemen, it is for us. It's not enough to have an old armored bus with armored, windows that can even stop 357, 308, you name it. No, no, no. You need big, juicy MRAPs with and then you say, because we don't want to we're going to be taking fire from the constitutionalists. And then we talk about this and the sheriff comes out and says, InfoWars is posting articles about killing police. When we get 1 million visitors a day, and he was talking about comments that you can find on YouTube or anywhere else, implying, see, we need this because they're violent. I mean, if you really care about police officers' lives, I know a lot of police are watching right now, including the Spokane Police and Sheriff's Department that are basically being merged right now. You need to understand something. Then I'm going to break this news down and go to our crew on the ground. If you really care about police officers' lives, you shouldn't want to be prepared and lined up for a criminal, tyrannical, treasonous, illegal, premeditated civil war with the American people. Democrats can't win by flooding the borders. They can't win by bringing us under the UN regulations. They can't win by shipping our jobs overseas. They can't shut us down and domesticate us. What do? They try to outlaw dissent. Don't like Obamacare, you're racist. Don't want to turn your guns in, you're racist. You're bitter clingers. You're clinging to your Bible and you're clinging to your guns. Well, you know what we're going to do? We're going to tell the cops that the patriots are going to start killing them. We're going to give them the training, give them the weapons, and then the globalists are going to stage a few events to trigger the war, call in the gun confiscation like Katrina and what's going on in California and other areas. They're going to march the police and military out against the patriots. If 1% of 170 million gun owners fights back, that is 1.7 million combatants. It will wipe out the citizens and the patriots, and it will wipe out the police and the military. Then asymmetrical civil war, long-term, will set in, and United Nations troops will be brought into the United States. It is under official RAND Corporation public documents, National Police Stabilization Force plan. And the Call of Duty video games coming out are about it now. Just like 2 years before they launched the war in Georgia against the Russians, against South Ossetia. They launched against South Ossetia, and I can't remember the other name of it. It'll come to my mind in a minute. And Abkhazia. It was in Call of Duty. They roll it all out. what they're just about to bring out. They roll it all out, make tens of billions of dollars off of it. And you can go to the RAND Corporation's own website, click on that link for folks, and read all about it. I remember seeing an Austin American-Statesman article in 1998 about this. I went online, found the RAND Corporation version of it then, it's updated every year, and began warning everyone of the militarized takeover plan. How do I know everything? I actually read 300-page reports. And I'm willing to cover them. Nobody else is. So good people in the federal marshals, the FBI, the Marine Corps, the Army, the CIA, they give me the documents, and we break them here. And we know the whole treasonous plan. All I knew back in '96 was there'd be articles in South Texas about helicopters crashing and training to take on patriots, and I'd interview emergency manager heads, and they'd say, yeah, they say this is a condition of the public for future martial law. Clinton was thinking about it then, but the police wouldn't go along with it. And they would come out and attack me nationally, on national news, that I would dare hold up news articles. But see, I was holding up local news that had never gotten on the internet yet. WorldNet Daily was picking it up. Drudge was picking up WorldNet Daily. And suddenly it was being talked about, oh, there really are black helicopters. I was just some regular guy who was given the documents by the people that knew. I want to explain something. I didn't break any of this. I just broke it big. So we know about a plan to cause a civil war so they can brand patriots terrorists when we're under attack that will wipe out. I'm going to be conservative here. If they really kick this off, 400,000 cops will die. Hundreds of thousands of military. I mean, it will make the Civil War that killed 400,000. Well, that was on one side. I think the Civil War killed. Look up what the Civil War killed on both sides. I think it's 600,000. We're looking at, it's just unspeakable. And you're like, well, the globalists want to make money. They print and issue the money. This is their plan. This is their goal. This is how you capture America. Yep. 1,264,000 in all the nation's wars. The Civil War was close to half of them, 644,000. Civilwar.org. From the Civil War Trust, the National Archives. 2% of the population. Now, I don't think this will be as bad if we roll over. Then they're just going to come arrest everybody and basically have their way with us. And God, I'm sorry this is the way this is going. I know it's scary. I wish this wasn't the case. I wish I wasn't the tip of the spear of this. Believe me. It's not fun being the aircraft coming in at the front of the squadron when you're flying in over Berlin about to drop bombs on the enemy politically. But I got to do it. And I'm committed. And I've already been over this target repeatedly. And you've seen them attack us. By the grace of God only are we still here now. The average cop in Spokane isn't bad. The average deputy isn't bad in that valley. In fact, we get a lot of calls from there and a lot of good information over the years. I happen to know that we've been contacted over a year ago and given great information by people in these departments. 2 weeks ago, before this even broke here, the Sheriff's Department's union excoriated the sheriff. It's a big department for his anti-gun activities, being a sock puppet of Obama to get federal funds. So let's be clear. The sheriff's deputies are not our enemies. The police are not our enemies. The globalists want us to kill each other like two pit bulls in a cage. And I'm not that stupid, and I don't think the police are that stupid. I want prosperity. I want my Bill of Rights. I want my Constitution. I want my country back. I do not want to see Army documents at Fort Hood last year that ended up being on Fox News where they said you'll be court-martialed if you're an evangelical Christian or part of the Tea Party. You understand how illegal and authoritarian that is? They are trying to make basic American values illegal. Now, Joe Biggs reported to us at least 300 people today at noon Pacific time. That just ended a couple hours ago. That'd be 2 o'clock our time. At the Spokane County Courthouse at 1116 West Broadway Avenue. We have video of those reports. They'll be filed tonight after the guys are running and gunning right now. A lot of those videos are already on Infowars.com. A pure display of civil disobedience against the I-59 draconian background checks. You got to shut down gun owners, shut down private ownership, private transfer. Can't give your son or your father or your wife a gun.
Yeah, Alex, basically that rule makes it illegal for any two people to hand a gun back and forth to each other.
I know. It's
ridiculous. Without a background check. You have to have a background check or they get you.
Can you imagine how they're going to have stings at like gun ranges and the rest of it? Where, oh, yeah, look at my gun. Oh, I mean, this is a way to target lawful gun owners. And then the other one is starting now, or at 4 p.m., we're going to have an early report out there, and then you're going to throw a sports jacket on and stuff. You're going to come in here and do a couple hours. Saturday, December 20th, 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's coming up in about 35 minutes at the City of Spokane Valley Police Department at 12710 or 12,710 East Sprague Avenue, Spokane Valley. Members of the community, military, and law enforcement are encouraged to join all of us who believe in our Constitution and constitutional rights in a demonstration against militarization of law enforcement. And that's what was written by the kind of Rolling Thunder, patriot, conservative, libertarian, family motorcycle group that support police, as you know, in almost every case. This is a very good group of people, and they've been declared the enemy. Big armored vehicles, and the head of the SWAT team says, it's for these gun owners. We got a lot of gun owners in Spokane and in the Valley. This is a quote. We got a lot of gun owners. We got a lot of gun owners. And we may be taking fire from constitutionalists. You know what? Yeah, you go around confiscating guns. People start defending themselves like Lexington and Concord. The news gets on the air, announces they're terrorists. People backed against a wall. My God, police, do you really want a civil war for a bunch of foreign bankers and anti-American liberals and progressives while they sit back and watch you, when they hate your guts, die in a war with the American people? I mean, are we really this idiotic? Well, the sheriff did exactly what I thought he'd do. He's an ADL, Southern Poverty Law Center, globalist, Rand Corporation puppet. We've been trying since last Friday when this broke. Not this Friday, but Friday before last, when Infowars.com broke it. We had been trying to get that sheriff on. We showed up, sent people there, and he wouldn't come on. He keeps saying, oh, I'll talk to you, and he won't come on. Now he's left the town, we're told. And he went on air. We're going to play the clip coming up. Put a video press release out and posted it through Raw Story, basically run by the White House, saying InfoWars is, deceptive, and they basically posted stuff on InfoWars threatening us, our lives. We've never heard of something this evil. We got Joe Biggs. We're going live to him after a few video clips. And it's on local news. It's on national news as well. So he didn't say people on their message board. Hell, it could be him. I'm not saying it's him, but it could be. No. See, now we're violent. Everybody knows we're not violent offensively. I know the pen is mightier than the sword. The Pentagon said a few years ago in a press release that psych warfare, or mind war, is 90% of war now. Well, I'm using the truth here. I am attacking lies and tyranny and fraud. I'm not attacking individual people. I hope that sheriff lives to be 105 and has 50 great-grandchildren. I hope he wins the lottery next week. And I hope he gets down on his knees and prays to God that a civil war doesn't start in this country, and that he and others like him not be dumbass, useful idiot agents of it. This country's been captured by foreign banks. This country is being shut down. This country is being turned into a total tyranny by every yardstick, and no one can deny it. Classical despotism. I want to go to a few of these special reports filed by Darren McBreen, Joe Biggs, and others. Then we're going to go to Joe Biggs live, where they're getting ready to start the protest, and some people have already shown up. Doesn't kick off for 30 minutes. Looks like about 40, 50 people are already out there. About 300 were at the earlier demonstration at the county seat. This is now at the police department that in their tactical team has basically merged and is involved in this as well. This is a very constitutional area. People are very upset. This is one of the most awake areas of the country. So we're going to be going to Joe Biggs here in a few minutes. But I want to go to this MRAPs for Mayberry. The video is up on Infowars.com if you want to see it again or share it. We're also going to put it on Facebook. But this is a report filed by Darren McBreen as he breaks down how MRAPs are being used in suburbs and small towns across America as the federal government prepares for total police state takeover. And they are announcing they're going to be taking your pension funds to protect them and take a large piece of them, including local police departments, while you're busy dying in a civil war to take our guns. And while Bill Ayers laughs about it.
Hey guys, this is Darren
Yeah, let's go ahead and go to Darren McBreen's report. Here it is.
Hey guys, this is Darren McBreen, Infowars.com. I just wanted to share with you some news I just discovered about even more MRAPs being utilized by police departments all across the country. Now, these are mine-resistant, ambush-protected vehicles that are normally being used in combat situations in Iraq and Afghanistan. Well, now they're patrolling the streets of America. Now, check this out. This is out of Cedar Park and Leander from Travis County, Texas, as they just received a nice Christmas bonus this year. It is a military surplus vehicle, compliments of the NDAA Act. Thank you, Barack Obama, for playing the Gestapo Santa Claus this year. You know, Cedar Park is a small community in Travis County, Texas. Very low crime rate. Leander, Texas, even smaller. I mean, they might have like 30,000 residents if they're lucky. There's virtually no crime in both towns, much like the crime-free community of Walton County, Florida, where their sheriff's department also has an NRAP, along with countless other small towns and rural communities all across the country. And it got me thinking, if the federal government had their way, there'd be MRAPs in Mayberry. I could see it now. Barney P. Fife in all his glory, patrolling the streets of Mayberry in the name of truth, justice, and the American way. That's what they want you to think, right? That these combat vehicles, that they're there for your protection. Meanwhile, as we've seen from the training manuals from the DOD, the DOJ, the Department of Homeland Security, the FBI, and now even the Southern Poverty Law Center, well, they're training the police departments that the #1 threat in America is us. It's you and me. We are the enemy, especially if you are a conservative, a libertarian, or God forbid, a constitutionalist. And that's why we are here in occupied Spokane, Washington, where a sheriff deputy was caught on camera saying that the MRAPs are intended for constitutionalists and gun owners. Needless to say, the people in this community, well, they're not very happy about those comments, and they don't like the idea of MRAPs patrolling their streets. And that's why we are here. We're going to participate in the protest tomorrow. It's scheduled tomorrow, that's Saturday, in front of the Spokane County Sheriff's Office in defiance of the police force that it now resembles an occupying army. So be sure to check out Infowars.com for more coverage, including live updates tomorrow from occupied Spokane, Washington. I'm Darren McBreen for Infowars.com.
We are back. And again, that was followed last night. We've got a bunch of new reports today. Joe was able to get in and show the MRAP parked behind the sheriff's department. They've got other armored vehicles as well. We've got the sheriff saying he can take your life and affect your freedom anytime he wants with a stroke of the pen. Sounds like Obama. We have the same sheriff implying we want violence on them. I mean, my free speech is not violence physically. You are saying you're preparing for war with us. This is so outrageous. This is so transparent. This is so ridiculous. The arms buildup is in the low crime areas with the gun owners and the patriots. The criminal government at the highest level is afraid of the good people. It's the same as criminals coming in with a gun at a bank. They've got a gun, you don't. Because they're scared of you. They're about to rob you. And this is so transparent. Now, I want to go to Spokane. They're outside the police department where already looks like 50, 60 people are gathering. It was about 300, we're told earlier. We have video of that. The earlier demonstration to former Staff Sergeant, retired tours of combat in Afghanistan and Iraq, blown up repeatedly in MRAPs, but smaller ones. Joe, I know you were telling the news director, Rob Dew, off air, this is the biggest MRAP you've ever seen. Joe, tell us about that. You've been there since Thursday night. into Friday, what your take is on what you're seeing, what's coming up. But as a veteran, as a patriot, I mean, this is the Democratic Party and Homeland Security federalizing police and preparing for war with the American people while the borders are wide open. I mean, this is just over-the-top tyranny. Why don't they put armored vehicles on the border where Border Patrol are getting shot and killed and citizens are getting kidnapped and murdered by the thousands? I mean, this is insane, Joe.
Roger that. Joe Biggs here, Infowars.com. Now, right now, we're live standing outside of the Spokane Valley Sheriff's Department, like you said earlier, on East Sprague Road. Now, there's people starting to gather right now. And like you said earlier, Alex, there were about 200 to 300 people at the earlier protest for the I-594, which makes it illegal to transfer a firearm from one individual to another without having a background check. Now, in order for that to happen, you would have to go to a FFL or a police department such as this to go get a background check and then hand that firearm over. Now, that is something so ridiculous because most Americans go out and use their firearms at ranges. We go out and we shoot weapons all the time. Hand a gun over someone else, that's a felony. That is something that, as a veteran, as an American citizen, disgusts me. And now we have MRAPs being deployed to all these small town police stations across the country. And I'm going to tell you what, Alex, that MRAP I saw yesterday was the largest MRAP I've ever seen. 10 times bigger than something you would see on the streets in Afghanistan. Another 3 feet wider and another 3 feet higher up off the ground. Way more armor. This is ridiculous that they have something like that deployed in Spokane Valley, that they have things like that deployed in Ferguson, Missouri. This is out of control, Alex.
And they admit it's for us. We kept saying, it's for us, it's for us. Here's the secret documents. Now, it's not just this department, all over the country. They admit, they've been told this by the Southern Poverty Law Center. They are openly saying it is for veterans, gun owners, conservatives, libertarians, in a coming civil war. They tell every department, you will. This came out 6 years ago. You will engage veterans with IEDs. You will be fighting them. How do they know this so magically?
I don't know, it's beyond me, but the SPLC, they're calling people like Representative Matt Shea a so-called bad guy. The leader of the motorcycle club here, Scott McClay, he is a petty criminal in their eyes. They call him a criminal because he's never even had a criminal record in his entire life. And they're demonizing this man because he's a constitutionalist. Well, let me tell you what the people here in the Sheriff's Department thinks of what constitutionalists are, because yesterday when I spoke to the undersheriff downtown, he said that, well, they took the term out of context. They didn't mean constitutionalists. They meant extremists. And I went, whoa, you're telling me right now that you're confusing the word constitutionalist and extremists in the same way? How is that even possible? They're not even the same thing.
Well, Joe, that's right. What they're doing is, we have all the documents, the secret documents. It's been in the news for 6 years at least, 7 years. But now that they're trying to make it go public, and then there's a backlash, they go, oh, no, it's not for you. Well, no, it is for the American people.
They're buying up the weapons. They're buying up the ammo. They're putting out no hesitation targets where you're shooting at pregnant women and children. They just bought $120 million worth of Abrams tanks that the U.S. Army says they don't want. Now, where is that going to go?
Let's just stop there. I forgot. They're now getting Abrams, actual heavy battle tanks, the #1 battle tank in the world, that not even Russian tanks can't even shoot through.
And the Army says they don't want any part of it.
That's right. The Army has come out and said it's wrong. I mean, and I'm not trying to lionize the Army, but I do keep noticing that even top brass in the Army keeps saying no, no, no. Why is that, Joe?
Because they know what's going to happen. Some of these people can see there's good people, like you said. There's some good police officers. There's some good top brass in the military. There's a lot of awake people out there. There's no reason. The tank fleet that we have right now is only 2 years old, Alex. We don't need $120 million worth of more tanks in the military. So the Army's saying, we don't need this. Now, where's it going to go? What do they do with all the excessive MRAPs they're doing? They're deployed to places like Spokane and Ferguson, all across the U.S. What are they going to do with those tanks? They're going to put them on streets. We don't need that. America needs to wake up. The citizens of America need to stand up and say enough is enough, like Spokane Valley has done so far.
I mean, let's think about this. Soft martial law is coming in. Tanks are wheeled tanks. Again, they're wheels that don't tear up the road, are just flying around. They're deploying Bradleys and Warrior fighting vehicles that have been given up by the Army and Marines all over to weapons caches. I've talked to so many officers in the National Guard and the regular big Army, And they go, oh my God, yeah, Oklahoma, Texas, you name it. They are caching in warehouses and have maintenance groups in there getting them ready for war. I mean, Joe, what do you think's really going on here?
At the end of the day, you've got to put all the pieces together. They're buying up the guns. They're trying to take guns from citizens. They're buying up the ammo. They're putting MRAPs on the streets. They're going to buy tanks. They put a blimp up over the East Coast that General Brommel says is only going to be used for radar. He says it's not going to be used to spy on American people. It's not going to be used to listen on their phone calls. You know, it's not like they ever lie about any of that stuff before. You know they're going to use that stuff to spy on Americans. The NSA's in your phone. You can see it in the terms and services you have. You can't even use an application like Facebook without having your life stolen from you and all your data given out to somebody out there, a third party. This is ridiculous. America is being overtaken by this tyranny. And good Americans out here are saying, you know what, enough is enough. We're not going to take it anymore. We're standing up to you. You're not going to do this here anymore, because I want my kids one day, if I ever have any, to grow up in America, the America it's supposed to be, not some America with a camera all over the place, with blimps flying overhead, with tanks driving up and down the road, with MRAPs, with cops running up and down the streets that you can't tell the difference between if they're cops or military. This is ridiculous.
It's a total criminal takeover, and they're going to stage terror attacks and blame it on us as the pretext for the rollout. You mentioned the story we broke almost 3 years ago. It's got to be 2.5 years ago, of the no hesitation targets. I want to put that on screen for TV viewers. This 2 million plus, you heard me folks, 2 million plus targets that are of women in the shower, little kids, veterans, old people with walkers. And they said it, Homeland Security ordered this because this is who they're preparing as the new enemy. And there are no hesitation targets to create instinctive shooting of a woman with a kid. They're preparing, just like you train a pit bull to attack a baby or something. They're training them to attack the American people. And at first they tried to deny that, Joe. So as a veteran, I mean, how obvious is this to you? And then I want to talk about what the people on the ground are saying, what their view is of this.
Like I said, I find it so disgusting to go and fight for my country, to go to Iraq, to go to Afghanistan and watch my friends bleed and die, to come back to an America where this is happening, where the peace officers, the police officers look like military, where they're driving up and down the roads in military grade gear, MRAPs, they're full battle rattle uniform. This is out of control. This is something that pisses me off and I can't stand. And when I talk to all my veteran buddies, the ones who are still in, the ones who are deployed, and they're saying, what's going back home? What's going on back there? Should I even come back home? Is America gone? It scares the hell out of me, but there's change that can happen. There's stuff that we can do. And as Americans, we can stand up to these tyrants and we can say enough is enough.
Oneth by land, oneth by land, twoeth by sea. Paul Revere, back in 1775 and then 1776 with the July 4th Declaration of Independence. July 4th is not about hot dogs and beer and fireworks, folks. It's about a ragtag military founded by George Washington, the U.S. Army and the U.S. Navy, founded by John Paul Jones, defeating an empire that the Spanish, the Portuguese, the Dutch, the French, no one could beat. The Russians, nobody beat them, and nobody beat them since except us. And it was about that, saying, you're not taking our guns. And what did Paul Revere do? If they saw the troops landing, they knew the invasion was coming by land or by sea. If they came marching up and had landed and they hadn't seen it in another colony, oneth by land, twoeth by sea. Well, it was by sea and by land. And Paul Revere wrote, now we see the open deployment and the open manuals for open war. And I don't just say this, I'm getting total chills right now. The epic treason. I mean, I don't need to go watch the Hobbit Battle of the Five Armies and watch the orcs march out of Mordor, you know, to get excited. I'm watching our military, our police merged, open war prepared, the morale of the U.S. Army, the lowest it's been since Vietnam, and they say, because of what's happening at home, that's why I keep saying, there's the silver lining, Joe, that this is waking the military and police up because they're not stupid. They understand, because they're trained in this, that they're like, the veterans are going to start killing us? How do you know that? They know the setup's coming. They know it's about to start. How do you think that plays into things?
Well, I find it extremely funny that Sheriff Ozzie Nezovich is running with his tail tucked between his legs. He's afraid to come out here and debate the people. He's afraid to debate you, Alex. There's citizens out here right now lined up who would like to have a word with this gentleman and find out why he requested that MRAP. Because this MRAP, like others, wasn't dumped in his lap. This is something they asked for because they said that they need that for extreme situations that can happen here in Spokane. Well, I've talked to the representative. I've talked to a lot of the locals. That doesn't happen here. So what is it used for? It's used for constitutionalists. This is ridiculous. I'm so tired of, we keep going to these protests. We have to keep going to town after town to see this happening. We need to make a change.
Joe, I agree. I just saw them put an article back from May with another police chief in another state saying the same thing. Will you guys print that for me so I can read that on air? The computer screen's so far away I can't even read the small print. But there it is. Police now arming for war against returning veterans. Cops in armored vehicles asked by residents, are you coming to take our guns away? And the cops say, yes, we're preparing for war with the Tea Party. So understand, this is a fact. And what we're doing today is forcing a debate to give support to the police and military that are the ones that are giving us most of the intel. 90+% of the intel. So that's why I say, yes, they're sending the military and police after us, but they could be our saviors because they are 500 times more awake than the public. I mean, not 85, 90% of the military is awake, especially if it's Army. Marines then are about 80%, Air Force a little less, and Navy less because they're not involved as much domestically, so they don't know. The Army's been tasked with this treason, so they really know, so have the Marines. But, I mean, it is a paradox that the cops are and the military are the most awake group, but of course they should be the most awake. They're being prepared for war with us, Joe. So I mean, how does that paradox work?
You've got to think. I've been overseas. I've seen them guarding the opium fields. I've seen the weapons. I've seen what they're trying to do. That's why other soldiers like myself and my brothers in arms, who they can be awake. They see what's going on. You know, Fox News, CNN, they put this curtain up. They put this huge beard on, and they always make a bickering between what's going on. They want to take your eyes off real issues, real facts by promoting these race wars, by promoting these wars between the Democrats and the Republicans, so you don't see what's really going on. The MRAPs on the street, the police officers with the no-knock warrants coming in and kicking in the doors, throwing flashbangs and ripping open the chest of a child, shooting homeless people for no reason. This is out of control. Our world, our country is falling apart, and we've got to stand up.
That's right. We've got to support good sheriffs. Well, the good news is for every sheriff openly saying he wants war with the constitutionalists, there's another 15 or 20 saying citizens should be armed. We should all work together for law and order. And like the sheriff of Milwaukee and others, that's the answer. If the sheriff, if the sheriff of Milwaukee said, we've got some radical groups we're worried about, or bank robber groups, we need armored vehicles, then I wouldn't have a problem. They're saying it's for the good guys. I mean, it's an open declaration of war, Joe. Sorry.
Well, I've spoken to some of the locals here, and they said they've spoken to some of the police officers in the downtown area about the I-594, and they were asking, are you really going to go out and make arrests? Would you really come out to a gun range and put someone in jail because simply they wanted to go shoot that other person's weapon? And a lot of the officers, from what I've been told by the citizens of the community, said no, they would not uphold that law. They would not do that. But what's happening is the corruption is so far up. It's so embedded at the top. We've got to do something down here at the bottom. We've got to get the people rallied together.
Well, I think the safe money is on that sheriff. If there's a fair election, he's not going to be there soon.
But the I-594, you know who's pushing that? That's Bloomberg.
I know.
That's Bill Gates.
Bill Gates, I think, spent $5 million alone to get that passed in Washington.
Yep.
And then Bloomberg spent like $500,000. But that was just in Washington. Bloomberg tried to kick the Milwaukee sheriff and a bunch of other patriots out.
This is so out of control. I mean, it makes my stomach hurt. I mean, I lose sleep at night because I just don't know what's happening to the country that I love. the country that my dad fought for, that my father's father fought for, that my friends fought for, that all these Americans wake up every day and love to see, and it's slipping away because there's so many sheeple out there. There's so many people out there who just want to flip on their Fox News, their CNN, ignore what's going on,
and Joe,
don't do their job.
Joe, let's talk about that, because you got fooled, but it doesn't matter. Your heart was pure. That's what the Bible talks about. King David did some things that were bad, but the point is his heart was pure. You really got mad about 9/11, and you were surfing, doing great, managing businesses, because we've talked about it. I mean, I've seen you surfing on the lake behind the boat. You're a great surfer. You were running bars, businesses, DJing. You were really happy and successful, but you got pissed about 9/11 and went and joined the Army. Your dad, I guess, had been in the Marines. So now you see the real enemy. You've told me personally. I want you to repeat in your own words. That's why you're so upset. You were upset about America going to hell, so you went to fight who you thought was totally involved. Now we find out the government's protecting these radicals. And so that's why you're there now, because you're taking it personal like you're supposed to.
Yeah, I mean, I've been cheated on by the woman I love, and the woman I loved was liberty. It was America. You know, when I went over there, I fought what I thought to be at the time the bad guys. I was like, you know what? These guys came over here. They destroyed our country. They're trying to rip us apart, the fabric of America. I've got to go over there and kick their butt. And then I get over there, and then I start finding out what's going on. I get a peek behind the curtain. I do my time. I start making some rank and start finding out more and more things. I start getting a little bit more angry and pissed off about what's going on. There's a change that's got to be made. You know, doing that, and like I said, watching my brothers die over there for something that our own country helped have a part in, it makes me sick at my stomach.
And to watch ISIS
every single day.
And to watch
something
ISIS
that we created.
Yeah,
Taliban.
Which is Al-Qaeda being protected.
Exactly.
And now the Army has to go fight ISIS in Iraq when Obama funded them for 4 years and gave them the weapons.
And Ebola in West Africa without any training.
It's insane. I want to go to some clips and back to you, and I want to get McBreen's take if he's there, or any of the other crew and any other points. I want to go, once Rob Dew comes in and takes over for a couple of hours, I want to go interview the locals. It looks like a lot more people are showing up. Looks like there's going to be some speeches coming up. We're about 10 minutes away from, or 9 minutes away from the official rally starting. Looks like about 200 people there now.
Roger that. There are people starting to gather now. I think Representative Matt Shea will be coming up soon and speaking to the crowd.
We're going to cover some of those speeches. We're going to talk more to you. Let's go to some of these clips. Here is an interview with Fox 59. A Morgan County, Indiana police sergeant admits that the increasing militarization of domestic police departments is partly to deal with the returning veterans who are now seen as a homegrown terror threat. I mean, cops, if they don't like the veterans, they don't like you. Stop being complete morons. Stop being traitors. Stop following legal orders. Stop it. Okay, let's go to this clip. It's not just in Spokane, folks. Here it is.
Grown threat.
We really didn't have the violence that we see today. The weaponry is totally different now than it was in the beginning of my career. Plus, you have a lot of people that are coming out of the military that have the ability and the knowledge to build IEDs and to defeat law enforcement techniques.
Morgan County Sheriff SWAT Commander Dan Downing says such a vehicle would have helped get deputies close the day they were fired at by a barricaded gunman in 2011.
All right, let's stop right there. But you're saying it's for veterans and patriots. As if real veterans coming after you are going to go after you in an MRAP. They're going to go to the cop bar. I mean, you guys really want this civil war? By the way, every time they talk, it's bull. The crime rate's flat in the last 5 years. It's down since 1992, 50+% with gun violence. Everybody knows those numbers. Pull them up. Justice Department. And they try to hide those numbers. There's no crime wave of patriots and conservatives. Stop it. You know it's not true. Stop it. Let's go to the other clip. Let's go to the Spokane County Sheriff's Deputy, the head of the SWAT team, talking about how there's a lot of gun owners in this county and oh, we need this, blah, blah, blah. Again, you're admitting the buildup is for the patriots. If you were a patriot, and if you weren't saying it was for gun owners in Civil War, and we didn't know who was running you, then it would just be an expense on the county for the upkeep and wouldn't be needed in that area. But I wouldn't be concerned with it. It'd just be a white elephant, a boondoggle. No, it is in preparation for when they start blowing stuff up and blaming it on veterans and people like myself, like they blamed Oklahoma City on Rush Limbaugh. Let's go ahead and go to that clip.
Today I'm here to talk to you a little bit about a InfoWars report that states that a Spokane County deputy stated that we need a armored personnel vehicle to deal with.
No, guys, we're going to play that clip. I want the original sheriff's deputy, the reason we're at the protest there right now. And then we can play the sheriff. It's the original one with him in the armored vehicle with the person shooting it in the wrong aspect ratio. It's the clip we broke. That's the clip I've been wanting. Let's try it again. Okay, well, when you're ready, or go download it again. No big deal. When you're ready. Okay, and then we'll play the original sheriff.
It's totally appropriate in Iraq, but what kind of a situation in the U.S. would you see that happening?
I mean, we've got a lot of constitutionalists and a lot of people that stockpile weapons, a lot of ammunition. I mean, we've got a lot of constitutionalists and a lot of people that stockpile weapons.
All right, that's important. We'll go back to the InfoWars piece with the sheriff, but the full clip unedited is on Infowars.com. And he goes on to say we may be taking fire from these groups. So later we'll get the raw clip because the sheriff keeps making a big deal out of us playing snippets. I want to play full clips. But let's go back now to the sheriff's statement about InfoWars posting things about violence. No, InfoWars didn't post jack crap about violence against police or calling for it. You know that. Maybe there was a comment in the message board. You should have said that. This is a way to demonize us and say, see, we are violent. See, we need these armored vehicles for them. We're trying to stop the civil war that's going to be instituted when they take the pension funds, dummy. I'm talking to the sheriff. Here it is.
Today I'm here to talk to you a little bit about a InfoWars report that states that a Spokane County deputy stated that we need a armored personnel vehicle to deal with constitutionalists that have stockpiled ammunition.
It's totally appropriate in Iraq, but what kind of a situation in the U.S. would you see that happening?
I mean, we've got a lot of constitutionalists and a lot of people that stockpile weapons, a lot of ammunition. I mean, we've got a lot of constitutionalists and a lot of people that stockpile weapons.
That report, in and of itself, is very misleading. What you haven't been told is a particular interview started by a lady filming deputies at a charity function that were working with the MRAT, and her whole contention was that we were trying to desensitize children to the fact that we had an MRAT, that it was all propaganda. She then proceeded to interview not just one deputy, but a sergeant, a corporal, and a deputy. My question is why is only 3 seconds of that interview being shown by InfoWars?
Because we are engaged in real journalism here. We go wherever the truth leads us. Now, we've seen a long slide towards a paramilitary police state in this country. I've been talking about it for a long time, made 4 films on the subject since the late 1990s, and we are now here. They've gone from denying that this is happening to admitting it.
The Department of Homeland Security is working with law enforcement to build a domestic army because the federal government is afraid of its own citizens. And don't forget, the FBI, the DHS, and the nation's police departments, they're being trained that we are the enemy. And look, I've got here a Department of Justice Constitutionalist Extremist Guide right here in my hand. This was published by the DOJ. And it says to look out for American citizens who are members of the Patriot Movement. This is a training manual that's titled Investigating Terrorism and Criminal Extremism, published by the DOJ, complete with terms and concepts to help recognize potential extremists. And I'm going to read some of their bullet points, and you're not going to believe this. This is what they consider to be extremist speech. Anyone who talks about black helicopters, well, they are obviously prone to conspiracy theory beliefs, and they should be monitored and considered a threat, according to the DOJ. If you talk about the Bilderberg Group or the Trilateral Commission or the CFR, you are a threat. Anyone who talks about the Illuminati or the New World Order, well, you're a threat. And if you stockpile food, water, and weapons, you might be an extremist, according to the United States Department of Justice.
And it also said, if you talk about world government, well, the Council on Foreign Relations and the Trilateral Commission are the ones openly setting up global government. I mean, I could play CNBC announcing, we're now under global government run by foreign banks. But if you announce that, they want the police to go off and attack you and ultimately take you away to a re-education camp. The Emergency Centers Establishment Act, the Civilian Inmate Labor Camp Program. So they always go, we looked for FEMA camps, couldn't find any, because they're not called FEMA camps. I just told you the name where you can search the term, and it's all official, hundreds of camps for you and your family. Replete with training videos for pastors about how to go to the camp when we're ordered to. I can play that clip right now. Type in clergy response team. This is a giant criminal takeover by special interest, a high-tech third world coup where they use the military to take over. And we're simply trying to expose it, and that's why this big demonstration with hundreds and hundreds of people now arriving is so important. We're going to be going to some of those speeches. We're going to be covering it. Then I'll hand the baton over to Rob Dew. And by the way, the crew's doing a great job up here on Saturday. I'm not frustrated with them when I start getting irritable about finding clips. It's just that I want to see that lady's whole sensational interview where she's bringing up conditioning and has other ones admitting it. Because I know we have the full, by the way, we played a minute 58 clip of that sheriff's deputy unedited. So the police chief says a 3-second. And that's kind of why it's irritating in the new piece we made. It is like 3 seconds. The point is he claims we're a fraud. No, we're not a fraud. We just showed the DHS manual. And he's now backed off and said it's not for constitutionalists. The damn manual says it. I mean, I'm sick of you calling me a liar. I'm sick of it. We're not deceiving anybody. We bust our asses to tell the truth.
And Alex, we put the full clip up a few days ago because they kept requesting it, saying, "Oh, it's going to change the conversation," and it doesn't change a thing.
Well, what I think we should do is, towards the end, a couple hours from now, we should just obnoxiously play everything end to end. Even though we've already posted it and played it, just do it again. Because I guarantee you, they're in their sheriff's department right now with some mind controller walking around going, listen to that little bastard. See? I mean, they're there trying to manipulate and brainwash. We need to counter that, okay, Rob?
Yeah, and I just want to say this is why I'm up here. This is one of the reasons right here. It's this little guy.
Let's cut to the wide shot and get some comments by him.
Yeah. Hey.
Full screen.
Quincy, what do you think of all this? Say something. Talking to the mic. Pretty interesting, huh? See, it's the kids that have, he has really no idea why we're up here fighting right now. But years from now, he's going to see this and remember this and go, oh, wow, these guys were really doing it. And I hope it's not at a point where, he could be in a camp or there could be an economic collapse, and hopefully we beat this thing. That's why we're doing this. That's why we're up here on Saturday.
And I want to explain exactly. They have signed us on to $2 quadrillion in fake derivatives when our national debt's $19 trillion. $19 trillion is our debt. Another 1,800, what is 19 trillion out of 2,000 trillion? So that's 1 trillion, 900 and something trillion is not our debt. There's no way. It's all fraud. They're bringing us down. They're collapsing Mexico, Greece, Spain. They're coming. They want you poor and dumb. All of us. My God, are we this stupid as Americans? We're going to let them do this? I mean, they've been creeping and getting ready for this forever. And if the cops and military just say no, and we all just leave and don't play ball, it's not going to happen. And then we can start indicting and arresting these criminals, restore confidence in the dollar, restore the pension funds. Let's go to Jakari Jackson, because Jakari's up here working hard on Saturday, doing a great job. Not just a reporter and a news writer, but also in there running the board, doing a great job. Jakari, I mean, I have no idea what you're going to say, but what's your view on all this?
Yeah, I think everybody's analysis has been spot on thus far. We heard the comments from the sheriff saying that what his deputy said was taken out of context. I don't know how you can take something out of context when a man is asked a simple, direct question. He responds to that by saying that he needs these things to go after the constitutionalists, to combat these constitutionalists, to combat these gun owners. And it echoes what we saw earlier this year, maybe it was last year, with the SWAT commander in Illinois saying that they need these things to take on these returning veterans, because these returning veterans, by his account, were out there making IEDs and threatening the public. Maybe there is a rash of IED attacks that I'm not aware of, but these are the justifications that they use to put these things on American streets. And then we talk about what happened out in Ferguson, Missouri, where early on a lot of these tactics were very heavy-handed. They're aiming guns at people inside the crowd. They're lying about using tear gas. And then I believe it was Governor Nixon who said, well, yeah, we gave these guys all these MRAPs and all this military-grade equipment, but we didn't think they would actually use it. It's just the complete idiocy, the lunacy of their justifications. I'm very much convinced that these guys know exactly what they're doing. It's just when they try to convince you and me of this, Alex, just like Christopher Dorner. We heard the audio tape. Let's burn this mother effer down. The cabin catches on fire, and then they try to come out and lie to the public, saying that it had nothing to do with burning it down, even though they say get the gas, burn the gas, and burn the whole thing down. But to bring it all back full circle to what's going on there in Washington, I see there's a lot of great patriots out there. I see a lot of things are going on, and Biggs is ready to get out there and do some interviews. So, but it's a great time to see Americans out there doing what they need to do to redress their grievances against the sheriff's department. And I really wish that the sheriff's department, I'm sure they are watching this to some extent. They were watching our activities when we were out there in Ferguson, Missouri, so I'm sure these guys are watching as well. I would just hope they would go out there and dialogue with these people and see that many of them are not a threat. They're good people. Yeah, there could be a hothead or two out there, but that's with anything. You could have a church picnic and have some crazy guys show up.
Well, there could be provocateurs in there, too.
People aren't good people.
There could be, provocateurs as well, Jakari.
Oh, yeah.
Listen, I'd love to have, while you're running the board, or come in here and co-host with Rob Dew coming up, or you can come in here and host. I know you guys got some stuff planned. I'm going to punch out of here just so I don't get too obnoxious and dominate the whole discussion. I'll be in the control room, but I want to turn this over to you guys here in a few minutes and also play some of these speeches that are coming up. But great points, Jakari. Please stay with us with all the viewers out there as well. Let's go back and get some final comments from Joe Biggs, and then we'll start getting some of these speeches, but also talk to some of the crowd if the speeches haven't started yet. Joe Biggs, you just heard what Jakari was saying.
Once again, Joe Biggs here. We are outside of the Spokane Valley Sheriff's Department. We're live, so thank you everyone for watching. As you can see, there is a large group of people now that have shown up. People are open carrying. There's going to be speeches made throughout the day. There's a lot of great Americans out here right now lined up. They're going to be out here all day protesting. There's a lady up there singing right now, so we're going to...
Yeah, let's hear the Star Spangled Banner. Turn up your mic. Aim your mic over there, Joe. Maybe you can walk up to the microphone. I'm not even sure if she's singing the Star Spangled Banner. I think it's America, America. This is who the globalists want to go after, of course. Just look at how good those people are. But I guarantee you could drop $10,000 on the ground and no one would take it. They would just go, and that's who the freaking stinking criminal government wants to go after. Joe, how many people would you say out there now? You said 300 were there earlier at the other protest. How many?
About 350 so far.
And again, we're going to see more of these as and this is about educating people about what the globalists are up to. So we can have a public debate about it so it doesn't go to a physical war. Joe, I'm going to turn it over to you guys. You can go now, I guess, get at the back so you don't interfere. Give us some commentary, and as speakers come up, we'll get the camera up front and get some of that info. I don't think the crowd will mind if you get up there to the front and get the speeches. Great job to the crew. I'm going to be here as well, but I'm going to go ahead and turn things over now to Joe Biggs and Darren McBreen and Travis Knight, as well as Josh Owens, who are out there on the ground in Spokane, Washington. Great job to all the folks that have already showed up out there and to our crowd that came in today. We got a lot of other clips and special reports coming up. I'm Alex Jones. This is live coverage for prisonplanet.tv. Please send the links out on Infowars.com/show to Facebook, your Twitter, so everybody else can tune in right now as we cover real Americans trying to stop the globalist takeover. Back to the live feed.
Okay, sorry, we just had a wire snap. I got it fixed.
You get that ready? Yeah, your audio's good. You can go ahead and go up to the front, and we can get some footage of that, and then get some interviews afterwards, and we'll also get Jakari's take, and Rob Dew will come in here and take over is it called the comm in Star Trek? What do they call that on Navy ships? He'll come over and take the wheel over. Joe Biggs, go ahead. The bridge, go ahead.
So we're out here right now off to the side. Right now, the Scott McClay, he is the president of the Rattlesnake Motorcycle Club. He is up here right now giving a speech, talking to the protesters out here who have gathered.
Let's get that speech then.
We've got a couple live stream cameras up there. We can't get too close to that speaker. It starts making it.
All right, I think we might have lost an audio here.
When they built this fine company that we got, they really put in place a principle that is enduring.
Excuse me.
And today, there's a lot of people that are on board. It's not going away. And I don't think you're going away. I'm not going away. I think we're going to be just fine. So I want to introduce Gavin Syme. You've seen him on YouTube. You've heard about his efforts down in Grant County and Olympia and what he stands for, and the work he's doing. I want to invite him up and ask him to speak to you. Gavin Syme.
I think we're going to try and raise this speaker up, and I'm going to shout, because patriots tend to have less resources than the statists, but we make do with what we have, don't we? Hopefully that helps out a little. Hey, it's awesome to see you all here, and I see a lot of people that were in Olympia last weekend, a lot of fellow patriots. We got the Bosworths back there. We've got Matt Shea. I mean, what a great gathering. They had a great little rally over there at the courthouse reminding government that our rights are non-negotiable. Got my wife Sandra here, and she was there last weekend and this weekend. She's about 3 days from having a baby. That's what I call patriotism right there. Yeah. That's right. So I've been observing this growth of tyranny. I'm kind of the unexpected activist because I'm just a normal small business owning father who runs around and does portraits of families and puts photos on walls. I mean, that's my trade. And as I started traveling more with my family and getting out there, I started realizing that there's a problem. And that it's actually all the same problem. MRAPs and gun controls and lawlessness and unmarked vehicles and all of it. It is a fundamental disrespect and disregard of the servants for their masters. Yes. You know, the first time I drew the line is a video that no one's ever really seen because it wasn't my best encounter. I had no idea what I was doing, and it happened in Texas, of all places. And I was driving with my family. We were on a road trip out taking photos, and I came to a block in the road. And it was a federal checkpoint, 60, 70 miles inland, wanting to know if I was a U.S. citizen. And that was the first day, and I had been hearing about these, and it was the first time I had been in the Southwest, and I've been looking up, like, what can I do? What can I do? I know some people challenge these. What can I do? But I couldn't really find out what I could do, what I could get away with. And I had never truly stood up. I was engaged politically. I was watching. I was frustrated. But that day in the Texas desert is the day that I said, I will not comply. Yeah. And I remember driving to the checkpoint with my wife and our 3 kids in the back, and one of them was crying. I think Asher was about 2 months old. And I came up and he started asking me these questions. And I said, well, no. And he said, well, pull over to secondary. And I said, no. And he said, you have to pull over to secondary. And I said, really? Do you suspect me of committing a crime? And we know this drill. But the bottom line is I said, no, and I lectured that young man. I blocked the state highway for 15 minutes, and they routed traffic around me because I said, I will not pull over. Now, that was the first time, and I had no idea what I was doing, and I've gradually learned along the way, and in spite of myself, God always makes sure I come out of it in one piece. And as I always like to say, I will start every battle on my knees before God, but I will end standing boldly on my feet before tyrants. Now let's bring this to Spokane County because I'm really glad to see people standing up here. I've seen quite a bit of lawlessness coming out of this county, and you're not the only one. We have this problem down in Grant County, but a great patriot friend of mine, Anthony Bosworth, and I don't see him, but he's around here somewhere. If you see him, shake his hand. He has a red beard, and he looks like a redneck, so you'll recognize him. Oh, well, maybe not, but there he is back there. We came up here, and you may not have seen this video yet because we just released it yesterday. We came up here a few weeks back, and we went down to that safety complex there, not feeling very safe, and we went in there with cameras. And we went wherever we want in that place for about 4 hours. We just wandered around and we questioned police officers and we looked at their unmarked cars. And by the end of the night, it was amusing because the police were running from us. And I've found something, and I'm coming to a point here with all of this. When the government fears the people, there is liberty. And people will come to me and they'll say, Gavin, you're too aggressive, or you walked up and you stuck your foot in the door and you wouldn't let that officer leave. And I say, what employer would tolerate the utter disrespect that our employees give us? You would be out on your ass by 5 o'clock. Now, we need to act on principle and on liberty and on justice, and we need to be equal for all. But that doesn't mean we have to bow down. And when you stand the line and you stand boldly and you expect the law and justice to be upheld, the paradigm changes. In my town just a couple days ago, I just pulled in to watch a police stop. And they know me there, and I wasn't doing anything. I was just observing. It was late at night. And my little town tends to have that issue with police where they just like to sort of harass people. And let's be clear. I don't dislike police or authority. I hate injustice. Now, as soon as I pulled in, this officer was walking to the car, and I just sat in my car. I turned on the camera like I do sometimes when I feel the inkling, and he walks back to his car and turns his spotlight directly into my eyes so that I can't see. So I moved the car up in front of him, and I pulled in front. I got out of the car, and I went and I dressed that officer down right in front of his stop. And he said, well, you need to go back to your car. You need to put your hands in his pocket. And I waited then till the stop finished. And I went back and I said, you listen to me. Don't you ever behave like that again. You work for the people and you will respect the people. And he said, is that a threat? And I said, no. You just need to remember who you serve. Amen. Yeah. Now I think it's time in Spokane County. Anthony and I came up here and we saw complete disregard for accountability on every front. You know, in Washington State, it's illegal for officers to run around in unmarked cars because it's dangerous. And we should know who our daughters and our wives are being stopped by in the dark of night. They should not have to fear a rapist at their window because our police are more concerned about hiding in dark alleys to write taxes to drivers that are going 6 miles an hour over the speed limit. A government that spends its time harassing its citizens for petty faults rather than dealing with real crime has failed at its reason to exist. I think The sheriff of Spokane County has been given enough chances. And I say to the citizens of this county, maybe it's time to start looking at firing the employees that do not do their job. And you don't have to wait until the next election. These lawless officials. It's time we stop tolerating this lawlessness. Now let's bring this right to here, and I don't know how long I'm supposed to speak, so just nudge me if I'm supposed to wrap up here. This MRAP, it's not about MRAPs, it's not about guns, it's about liberty. It's about accountability. It's about a government that does not look at people and say, well, we need these special weapons for those constitutionalists. I'm sorry, those constitutionalists are the ones that you are supposed to defend with your life, and we're looking at the wrong paradigm with our public officials and our peace officers. We say, well, some of them are oath keepers. How about we demand that all of them be oath keepers? Make no mistake, if we don't stand up, America, and stop tolerating this, if we don't stand up, I've learned that we can still stick our neck out and not have it chopped off. And so have many other of you standing here. I see many fine patriots. I see the birds over here. I see all these people that for years, many have been standing up for much longer than I have. We can stick our neck out. We can stand courageous, because nothing terrifies a bully more than someone who will stand up to them. So when I look at this situation that transpired over the past week, and it's a positive thing in one sense, because what changes things is the conversation. And I say this all the time because the enemy is much better and has much more resources to get the conversation out. And we need to always bring it back to that umbrella of liberty that encompasses the justice and the law that we placed on government. Let's be clear, the Constitution gives us nothing. The Constitution is a law that we placed on government to say, this is what you shall do. You know, I've been studying John Locke a lot lately, and then I've been watching in the news as these Supreme Court decisions come down, and they basically say, well, the Fourth Amendment doesn't apply here, and the Second Amendment doesn't apply there, and maybe tomorrow it'll be, well, those Christians and that church, that's illegal, and let's take this over here. That guy's house is nice. Let's take that and kill him. Does that sound good? That's called democracy. And that's not what we have in this republic. And I was reading John Locke recently, and he said a magistrate or a judge that is operating outside the authority that was granted him, he is no longer a judge. The Supreme Court, when they say we decide this doesn't apply, that is not law. And people come to me and they say, well, Gavin, the Supreme Court said, I don't care what the Supreme Court says. Me and these patriots will defend our home and our family with justice and liberty. And so when we look at this MRAP and we look at all these things going on, we see this militarization.
All right, if you've just now joining us, we're at the Spokane Valley MRAP protest. This is live coverage going on in Spokane, Washington right now. We got 4 of our crew on site. This is a pretty big deal, I think. We're bringing the conversation to the police. This started back in December 14th of 2014, Mikhail Thalen's article, Police Armored Military Vehicles Needed for Constitutionalists with Firearms. And we got that video sent to us by a listener. We put it up. The sheriff responded saying, oh, you guys are taking it out of context. Well, then we put the full 5-minute up. It didn't take anything out of context. They had that MRAP out there at a Walmart to desensitize people that police are now driving around in giant tanks. And we're going to go to a video here in a second of Joe Biggs actually seeing this MRAP and interviewing a couple of the PIO and I think another deputy there and, you know, asking them. And they give you, you know, colorful answers and, oh, no, he didn't mean constitutionalist. He meant extremist. And, well, the SPLC is teaching that constitutionalists are extremists. That's part of the training manuals. All right, and we've shown you that. You've seen McBreen's report. It's the top one on the Alex Jones channel right now. You should go check it out. Here's something interesting. You guys can get an overhead cam shot of this. One of the things the Spokane Sheriff's Office is planning for right here, they have offered aerial platform shooting. And this is, they want to do this because focuses on arresting suspects either by air crew or by directing ground troops. However, the high possibility exists that suspects may open fire on helicopter, endangering craft and crew. This is military training they're going under. This is military training. So when they say, oh, no, it's not military, it's not military, it's military. Don't believe the hype. All right, we played the report earlier, MRAPs for Mayberry. These MRAPs are going all over the place. They're not going just to big cities where they actually have some problems that they may need this once a month, once every 3 months. No, there's one up in Cedar Park, about 30 miles from here, 30 miles north of here. Cedar Park, population of about 45,000, if you count Leander and the surrounding areas. Crime rate way lower than Austin. Austin doesn't even have an MRAP. But yet they think they need one. And it's like this. The government comes and says, hey, we want to give you a big tank. What do you guys think of this? Oh, well, all these guys want to get their tanks. So they get it, and then they don't realize how much it costs to actually run this thing. And some of them are actually giving them back because of the cost. And then some people are coming in demanding that they give it back, which is another good thing. And like we said, we've been talking with Joe Biggs. We've got shots going up. You can go to our Ustream channels, Real Alex Jones and Alex Jones Live, and check out just the raw feeds if you want to. We're also running this on YouTube and on Infowars.com/show. So our YouTube channel, the Alex Jones channel, you go to that and it'll pop it right up, the Alex Jones channel. So there's lots of ways you could watch us. We've got tweets out there with all the addresses. If you go to the top of Infowars, all right, it's going on the masthead. You click on that little MRAP up there and you can see the protests and what's going on and why people are fed up with this, why people are angry and want to get the word out and want to start that dialogue. I think it's great that the sheriff came back and said, oh, he didn't mean that. Now we're in a dialogue. Now we could say, well, you know what? What about this? What about this? What about the training you're receiving? Why does it all always have to come back to people who like having guns and freedom are the bad people in this country? Why is that the modus operandi of the law enforcement? Why are they being trained in this? Now, the reports go back. If you watch Alex Jones's Police States 1, 2, and 3, and then we did Police State 4, The Rise of FEMA, just go back and watch that. It shows you all the different tactics the police use, all the different training they're being put under. And it's all part of this government thing to get the local governments afraid of the people. And there's no reason to be afraid of us. We're not the dangerous ones. The dangerous ones are the ones in control of armies and nuclear missiles, and those are the ones we need to worry about. So this protest is going on for probably another hour and a half, but I don't think these guys are leaving anytime soon. And you're watching, if you see any technical glitches, you know, that's technology. We're bringing you this live. We have 3 different feeds going up to you right now, a Skype feed, and then 2 from our Ustream channel. So it's a lot of different elements going on right here. We came up on a Saturday to do this, and we'll be here at least the next hour and a half. Right now, I want to go to a report that Joe Biggs and company filed last night. Joe went and interviewed the sheriff's office PIO and I believe another deputy, and I think he was the shift manager, and talked to them, had some questions for them. Why isn't the sheriff ready to dialogue? We're ready to talk. We've invited him on the show numerous times. He went on vacation, and then but then he showed up to confront State Rep Matt Shea, who's courageous and speaking out against this. We got a full interview with him that we'll play a little bit later. But I want to go to this video first. And at the end of this video, Joe Biggs is standing in front of the giant MRAP, and it's bigger and badder than anyone he's ever ridden in Iraq and Afghanistan. He's actually been to war. He's actually fought the enemy, if you believe, you know, Afghanistan is our enemy and Iraq's our enemy. If you want to go down that road, well, he was fighting the enemy. And I'm not taking anything back from Joe and his service or any of the servicemen out there. But what I just want to say is the real enemy are the people that want to go after freedom. And those people are amongst us right now. Let's go to that clip.
I'm Joe Biggs with Infowars.com in downtown Spokane, Washington. Now, we're at the sheriff's department, or the sheriff's office, I should say, in the downtown area. The courthouse is just right over here. We came in to see if we could speak to the sheriff himself and ask him about the MRAP, ask him about what the officer in question said, the reason why they thought that we had taken that stuff out of context. Clearly, you can't take something like that out of context when it's a straight up video that was loaded on. There's no editing done. It's just the straight what he said. I mean, there's no way to take that out of context, you know. So there was some flip-flopping with that. Let's listen to what the say about that.
Yeah, we'd like to speak with the sheriff if possible.
He's not in today.
Is there a PIO we can speak to?
I don't believe he's in today either. But we can just talk to him.
Okay, thanks. Well, that was one of the things that we were trying to find out, is because I know he came
came out and said that he would be willing to debate Alex with InfoWars about what's going on, and then when we called him to confirm that, then all of a sudden it came out that he didn't have, or he was on this planned vacation.
Yeah, he's out of the area, so.
But he was seen earlier, or yesterday at 3 p.m. at a meeting.
He, as of yesterday, he left town. So, I mean, that's my understanding. I thought he left in the morning, but I don't believe he's in town.
Yeah, I mean, that's coming from a representative here in town. That's coming from numerous people who have seen him. So we're trying to find out what's going on, because it seems like he's saying he'll debate us, he'll talk to us about the issues that are going on with the MRAP and other issues, but then he flip-flops. So, does he normally say one thing and do another?
No, he'd absolutely, I'm sure, meet with you if he was here, but he's out of town. He's not in the office. I haven't seen him.
And it's just like another thing, though. He says that he's a constitutionalist, but why is the officer saying that the MRAP's going to be used for constitutionalists?
It's not. It was a poor choice of words by our deputy.
Is there anything going to be done to this deputy? It's got the country kind of a good bit of it.
No, he certainly, no one in the sheriff's office feels that way, and he doesn't as well. It was a poor choice of words that doesn't represent our values or his values.
You're saying that we took these statements out of context, but all we did was just put up the raw video. So we're trying to find out what it was meant, or what he was meaning by when he said that the MRAP would be used for constitutionalists. In your opinion, what do you think he was trying to say by that, so we can clarify the situation?
Yeah, like I said, it was a poor choice of words. There are all kinds of ideologies, and the extreme side of any ideology can be people who use violence, and certainly.
But but then that's the thing, though. Now we're mixing extremists with the definition. Do you know what the definition of a constitutionalist is?
I have what I believe the definition is. But
well, what is that then?
Certainly, I don't consider constitutionalists. Let me clarify. 99.9% of people who are constitutionalists are law-abiding citizens who follow the Constitution just like we do. I'm just as much of an American as you are, and
I spent quite some time in the Army. I did 4 years in combat. I carry guns. I do all that stuff. I don't have any criminal background. So I think a lot of people find it very offensive when, because it seems like, all right, we're going to use this MRAP, this military tool, and I've driven them before in Iraq and Afghanistan. It's one of those things that we've got to clarify it, and we've got to find out why that was being said, because if it's something that's being trained or taught to the younger officers, then that's something that's an issue that we really need to fix.
Sure, and it's not being trained to the younger officers. Like I said, it was a poor choice of words. He shouldn't have used that word.
Who was the first terrorist organization in the United States? Who? Founding Fathers. Founding Fathers. You mean Thomas Jefferson? Oh, yeah. You mean George Washington? Oh, yeah. Paul Revere? Yeah. These guys right here, let me ask you something. Did they try to scare people? Oh, yeah. They tried to intimidate the British. Did they use acts of violence? Your founding fathers, my founding fathers, were involved in acts of terrorism against British officials.
And don't forget, the FBI, the DHS, and the nation's police departments, they're being trained that we are the enemy. And look, I've got here a Department of Justice Constitutionalist Extremist Guide right here in my hand. This was published by the DOJ. And it says to look out for American citizens who are members of the Patriot movement.
Now, we've seen the training manuals where they clearly state that they're going to go after Tea Partiers, constitutionalists, patriots, people like Alex Jones, all of us here at InfoWars, people like you who are watching this right now at your computer, on your phone, at home on TV. We're the enemy now. This is what they're training, that we're bad. We have these no hesitation targets where the police officers shooting and training to shoot pregnant women and kids and elderly. This is something that needs to change. This is a bad narrative. The training that is happening is out of control. This is the kind of stuff that you would see the military do, and for some reason, it's bleeding over into our law enforcement. And now the SPLC, we have them. The end-all, be-all to who's extreme and who isn't. They say that we're the bad guys. They've come in here and trained these police officers. How many out there, we know about this one, how many other police departments across this nation have been trained by the SPLC. Now, how much training and instruction has the Sheriff's Department received from the SPLC?
I have no idea.
So you don't know at all? I know they had some meetings. They've had representatives sit down on those meetings as well to watch the training.
Years and years ago, I don't even know what year it was that we had those folks up, but no.
Well, as you can see, pretty much every question I asked was not even answered. It was pretty much just glossed over. So transparency is not really there. The sheriff is on his vacation, which he was spotted yesterday at 3 p.m. in the city at a meeting. All right, now we're going to go in and take a look inside the garage, which is right over here. The MRAP that they have, the MRAP from the video that's now become so popular. Now, one of the things that I found very interesting about the MRAP, it is much larger than any MRAP I've used personally. I'm not saying that other people in the military haven't or whatever. This MRAP personally is way bigger than any MRAP that I've ever had to use in combat, and it has way more body armor on it, so to say, way thicker plates, huge, bulky, higher up off the ground, wider, and can hold way more people in it. So that's another interesting part, that our police force has a armored military vehicle that's even bigger than something that myself and my unit would use in combat in Iraq or Afghanistan. So that's another key point to think about and hold in the back of your mind while watching this video, while you're looking at it, to take into context. It's kind of hard to see how big it is when you're not actually here in person, but it is a very, very big vehicle, and for some reason they have a feeling, they have this idea that they need it here in Spokane. So tomorrow is going to be the protest. Tomorrow at 2 p.m. in front of the Spokane Valley Police Department, citizens, Americans alike from all over are going to come out there and protest why this MRAP is here. So stay tuned for more reports. I'm Joe Biggs with Infowars.com.
Biggs interviewing the Sheriff's Department officials. They were given boilerplate answers. Did you see the size of that MRAP? I mean, Joe looked like a literal hobbit next to that thing. And this is what is being used now in our local communities as normal police equipment. That's got to freak you out. That's got to really freak you out. And I want to point out something else. Washington State is named after the father of our country, George Washington. And you can see a shot from the flag earlier. It's the green flag. It's got a picture of Washington on it. And these police and sheriff's deputies swear an oath to the Constitution. Yet, when that deputy is asked, who is this tank for? The first thing he says are constitutionalists. That's got to be, it's ridiculous that he could say that. How could he be trained and swear an oath to the Constitution and then say that people who believe in the Constitution are the ones we have giant tanks for? Do you see the disconnect there?
Rob, it just reminds me that the article came out, we saw that they said that the founding fathers would not be welcome in today's modern military. You guys remember the FEMA clip? Mm-hmm. He says, who were the first terrorists? The founding fathers.
Founding fathers.
And they don't like these guys. But yeah, they see this flag back here in our studio and they act like we have some picture of bin Laden or something up.
Well, I used to think this mentality was just back east, but now we see it all the way in Washington State. That's on the other side of the country. That's on the West Coast. And you think in Spokane, well, you got a guy like Matt Shea who stands up and is being courageous. I've never seen a state rep talk like this guy. Mm-hmm. And the exact opposite is the sheriff who is defending his deputy for saying constitutionalists are bad and that we're going to use tanks against them. I mean, I just can't believe it. I can't believe this is going on in our country, but I'm glad to see what we're seeing right now. People standing up, people going out there, wanting to talk to their sheriff right in front of the police department saying, listen, you're going to have a big problem if you start using tanks against us. And let's start a dialogue right now. Why do you have tanks? Why do you have all this stuff? Why are you being trained that we're the enemy? Why do you have the Southern Poverty Law Center coming in and telling people that people who like the Constitution, people that even might talk about the New World Order could be terrorists? Look at that. The legislator's dirty dozen. I bet Matt Shea's on there. Oh, yeah, look at that. Scroll down. There he is. Oh, yeah, we got to worry about an Iraqi vet. He's a war veteran coming back and serving his state as a state legislator. We got to worry about him. That's who we got to worry about.
Well, do you remember that DHS memo that Napolitano said she had nothing to do with, but that's another story. And they said it's your returning veterans. These are the guys you got to watch out for. And then, of course, the clip we referenced earlier about the SWAT commander in Illinois saying, yeah, we need these things for the returning veterans.
Right here. Right here.
Yeah, you got it right there on your desk.
And we just played the clip earlier. He said, they're armed for war against returning veterans, and he's talking about IEDs. He thinks soldiers are going to come back and plant IEDs to take out the police. Most of the soldiers coming back are becoming police. I mean, it's just such a disconnect in the way these guys are trained, and that's why we need to start this debate. That is why we need to make this debate the priority. Not whether we like black people or white people, because that's not even the point. That's the point that the media wants to push on you, that black people are dangerous, or white people are dangerous, or white police officers kill black people. You know what? Police officers kill a lot of people, and they need to be educated on who they serve. And that's why we're out there today covering this event. Do we have any feeds going on right now? I think that's Matt Shea speaking right now. Why don't we go to a little bit of him?
Two constitutionalist candidates for city council. And thank God, by the way, both of those men won. But I'm going to submit to you today that the Southern Poverty Law Center and the sheriff that backs them is the most dangerous organization in this country. I mean, imagine the conversation these guys are having. You know, those evil constitutionalists, those people that they actually read the Constitution, and some of them even carry guns. I mean, that's un-American, isn't it? Yeah. I submit to you that if loving the Constitution is now terrorism, then we don't live in a free country anymore. So to the SPLC and the anti-gunners, they don't like us not because of how we act. They don't like us because of what we believe. And when we start to criminalize what somebody believes, we don't have freedom. We don't have freedom. So today we stand in defiance of tyranny. We stand in defiance of those who hate the Constitution. We stand in defiance of those who would take our guns, and we say, no more. The line in the sand is here, and we are not going to back up one single inch. And we don't just say that for Spokane Valley. We say that for all of Americans who want to live free. So today we call on our sheriff here in Spokane Valley to apologize to the community, to apologize to the American people, to conduct a constitutional rights class for law enforcement. And if he won't do that, we call on him to resign, and if he won't do that, we call this sheriff. Also probably send the MRAP back home. I want to say also that the next time that this sheriff decides to challenge somebody to a debate and we show up to take him up on that, don't suddenly go on vacation, okay? Just actually do what you say you're going to do. That's right. So today we reject the idea.
All right, looks like we lost the audio there. That is new technology. Ustream, we're streaming live from two different sources, and we got a Skype feed going off. And right now the guys are out there conducting interviews. But we'll go, y'all can throw up shots, and I'll just talk over them. I'm going to just live shots of this. It's pretty interesting. That's Representative Matt Shea right there. We have a sit-down interview we did with him we're going to go to in a little bit. But he said it all right there. That was just a nutshell. We got to get rid of the SPLC. Stop talking. I'm sorry, I was supposed to be on one right there. Go back. You can go back to me now. The SPLC is the problem. They don't need to be training our officers on who's good and who's bad in this country, because they are bought and paid for by this weird left-wing contingent who thinks anybody that loves freedom or private property or gun ownership is bad in this country. That's what they're training people. Those are the bad guys. Those are the bad guys. And this sheriff does need to either resign or go do a 180 in his direction. He needs to start training his men in what the Constitution means, that constitutionalists are not extremists, and he needs to give the MRAP back. There's no reason to have a giant tank that's bigger than what they're using in Afghanistan and Iraq on the streets of any town, USA. Much
and
less
dude, talking
Spokane,
about
Washington.
talking about the MRAPs, I want to point out to the people who don't know, a lot of these police departments and these sheriff's departments, they get these MRAPs for cheaper than you can get minivans. These guys pay, you know, $2,000-$3,000, and they spend most of their graphics. You know, we heard the guy keep referencing the guy in Illinois. He said they spent more money on graphics and sirens and all that other stuff than they did on the actual vehicle itself. So these things are dirt cheap. They get them at bargain basement prices. Having some fun in the studio there. But yeah, I just want to point that out to people. These things are, they're given to these police departments, and then a lot of times they can't even give them back. We saw after the situation that happened in Ferguson, Missouri, sheriff's department said, hey, we want to give these things back. The Pentagon wouldn't take them back. They said, you're going to keep these things, you're going to maintain these things, and that's where your cost really comes in, because they may have got these things at dirt cheap prices, but you can't drive a big MRAP down to Jiffy Lube and get it serviced. You need specialized guys with specialized equipment and specialized training to maintain these vehicles.
Yeah, the parts and maintenance alone are going to bankrupt most of these police departments. And they don't realize that. And when they do, they go, hey, you know, federal government, we need to give this back. And they go, nope, you're keeping it. So then you got this giant tank just sitting there, rusting away, wasting away. It's totally ridiculous. And yeah, they give them to these, they mostly get these things for free, if you didn't know that. They say, here, they try to get them in the door, but you got to maintain it. And the big sheriff goes, well, I think that's what I want. We got to have us a tank. Them constitutionalists. We just took a class on constitutionalism and how they're extremists. We had a guy from the FBI here today telling us to watch out for militia groups and motorcycle gangs. And all these people are anti-freedom and anti-America, so we got to take them out. And that's exactly the opposite.
And
it's
talking
crazy.
about these sheriffs, we talked a lot about some of these more undesirable sheriffs, but we do have good sheriffs out there. David Clark, which we mentioned earlier, also Nick Finch out there in Florida, many other ones as well. You know, these are just some of the more popular ones. People we've had guests on our shows, you know, these constitutional sheriffs and these other guys. So there are good sheriffs out there. If they want some training, let's have David Clark go out there and teach these guys what the Constitution is. Let's have Nick Finch go out there and teach these guys how to deal with the populace.
I think the majority of sheriffs are kind of like lukewarm in the middle. There's some that know what's going on, are constitutionalists, and then there's probably a bigger contingent that are funded by, you know, these left groups that are being trained and funded to go in and set up the systems where they can come and take our guns eventually. And then most of the sheriffs have no idea this is going on either way. And so what we have to do is educate the ones that don't know what's going on and say, hey, you got to be aware of this. When the SPLC comes knocking on your door, you need to say, no, take a hike. That's what we need to be doing. We need to be getting up and getting active. And that's what the people of Spokane are doing today. What are you doing out there? People that are watching this out on YouTube or out on Infowars.com/show or PrisonPlanet.tv. What are you doing to wake up the sheriffs in your area? Are you bringing them a book written by Sheriff Matt called The Constitutional Sheriff? Are you bringing them articles like this that's saying, hey, look, these guys are preparing for war against us? What are you doing? Are you preparing for war? Look at that. Returning veterans are not the problem in this country. It's not returning veterans. It's not the average citizen who wants to own guns, handguns, rifles, assault rifles, semi-automatics. They're not the problem. Those are the people who are going to defend this country when it hits the fan. And it could happen at any time. I mean, with this oil situation going on right now, enjoy that cheap gas right now, because that's about to change. That's going to change probably in about a year and a half. We're going to get used to that cheap oil. We're going to go back to the giant gas guzzler and trucks, and then all of a sudden it's gone. It's going to be back up to $6, $7 a gallon because they're driving down these small guys that are here doing the shale fracking up in Canada, up all around the United States. Which you can say what you want about fracking, it does get us cheaper oil, and until we come up with an alternative energy source that's actually viable, because windmills aren't going to do it. Solar power is only good on homes. When you try to make a giant power plant, it's not as effective. But they don't want to have people with their own power, because then they'd be independent. Well, you can't have that. You got to have everybody under the thumb of the power companies. They might lose their monopoly. Let's go now. Let's see if we can reestablish contact while we're on this video right now. I want to go to the Spokane, what's that?
The feed's down right now.
Okay. Well,
Just a moment.
let's go to State Rep blows militarized police state wide open. This is Matt Shea. This is a sit-down interview we did yesterday. It's on the Alex Jones channel. You can find it on InfoWars. You need to send this to your state rep and say, hey, how come you're not talking like this? How come you're not acting like this? Why don't you get mad when MRAPs start coming to our area? Why don't you get up and start talking to the sheriff? That's what we elected you for. That's what you're paid to do, is to defend our liberties and freedoms. And if we had a lot more Matt Shays out there, if we had 200 of those guys all around the states, you'd see a big change. You see the federal government starting to button its lip and do what it's supposed to do, not overstep its boundaries and start saying, hey, that river's ours. Hey, that mud puddle's ours. Hey, that pond's ours. Hey, this land is ours. We're going to take it over and build a giant highway so we can bring in cheap goods from China and through Mexico. That's what we need. We need more Matt Shays out there. So let's go to this report, and we'll be right back after this.
Hey, we're here at the offices of State Representative Matt Shea in occupied Spokane, Washington, as he is fed up with the increasing militarization of our nation's police departments. Now, this guy, he's what a real leader should be. He's got the guts to stand up against tyranny, and he doesn't sit around playing politics while our freedoms are being eroded. Now, we're going to go in there right now. I want to get his take on the rising police state in America, and also want to ask him what he expects tomorrow, Saturday, as there is a massive protest scheduled to be held in front of the Spokane Valley Police Department in defiance of the increasing domestic police army right here in Washington State. Let's go check it out.
I'm State Representative of Spokane Valley. I've been serving for 8 years now, 4 full terms, and I'm also the assistant floor leader for the House Republicans in Washington State. But more importantly, I'm a combat veteran, I'm a constitutionalist, I'm a pro-Ron Pauler, I'm pro-life, and I'm a gun owner, which probably checks off all the list of the Southern Poverty Law Center.
You are concerned about the increasing militarization of our nation's police departments, not just here in Washington State, but across the board, across the entire United States. What's wrong with militarized police patrolling the streets of America?
Well, I think it's an escalation, and I think it causes division in the community. And clearly, there's a lot of people up in arms in Spokane Valley with what just happened with this deputy saying that these MRAPs are going to be used for constitutionalists who stockpile guns and ammunition. Well, that's most of my legislative district, most of the city of Spokane Valley believes that way. So I think it's very alarming. And this comes on the heels of Senator Rand Paul's Senate hearing where he questioned the administrator of the program that is bringing these MRAPs down to local law enforcement because they're also giving local law enforcement bayonets. And he said, what reason would you ever need a bayonet for in local law enforcement? And they didn't have an answer, of course, and he called them on it. And it's not just the equipment. I think a lot of people get lost in the equipment. It's the attitude.
Absolutely.
It's clearly the attitude that the people are the enemy that believe in the Constitution and the rule of law, when it should be the other way around. The question should be, why aren't you a constitutionalist? Why don't you believe in the rule of law? You took an oath to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Why aren't you upholding that oath? And I think that's what we need to challenge local law enforcement all over the country with that. And you know, it's heartening to me and encouraging to me because there are deputies, there are officers that disagree with the direction of the militarization of the police and have approached me privately. I know they've approached InfoWars privately and said, hey, look, we don't agree with this, we don't believe in this, and we really have to change and get back to what we were, and that was peace officers, not law enforcement officers.
That's right, and that's what we need to do. We need to open up the dialogue and let's start talking about this and let's re-educate them, because the deputy that made those comments, he's just regurgitating what he's learned in training. And so tell me about that. You were there, the SPLC, the Southern Poverty Law Center, actually training police forces here in Washington. That blew my mind when I heard about that, and you were actually there in the training. Tell me a little bit more about that.
So several years ago, this same sheriff that is at the center of this entire controversy brought the Southern Poverty Law Center to Spokane, Washington, Spokane Valley actually, and trained the deputies. And I was on the list of the dirty dozen most dangerous constitutional legislators in the country. And so
that's a badge of honor, by the way.
It is a badge of honor. I take that as a big compliment, probably the biggest compliment anybody could receive here as an elected official. But in that training, what was so alarming is the Constitution Party was a domestic terrorist organization. They put up on the screen the picture of the leader of the We the People movement out of Pullman and said he was a domestic terrorist. Now, these people have never been charged with a crime, and I've talked to them, I know them personally, and yet they are being labeled domestic terrorists without any charges whatsoever. And that was the most alarming thing to me out of that Southern Poverty Law Center training. What we did is we went out publicly and questioned the sheriff on that, and he had about the same reaction he's had this time, a defiant reaction. To me, that's not what a leader does. A leader says, you know, I'm sorry. And what the Southern Poverty Law Center does, and in recent days, deputies have come up to me and told me about the training they're receiving, and they're labeling people constitutionalists and using it in a broad spectrum to really label everybody. And the problem is the dictionary definition of constitutionalist is somebody that loves the Constitution and supports the rule of law. So change your terms in your training, or else we have to assume you're intentionally doing this.
Well, and doesn't it echo what we're seeing from the Department of Justice, the Department of Defense, the Department of Homeland Security, even the FBI, because they're training everyone across the board as well that constitutionalists, libertarians, Tea Partiers are potential terrorists. We've seen the training manuals, so to me, it's like a group effort to kind of persuade law enforcement agencies that we are the enemy.
Words have meaning. Constitutionalist has a meaning, and again, it is somebody that supports the Constitution and the rule of law. That's what this sheriff should be doing. That's what every deputy, that's what every...
Well, he claims to do it. He says, I'm a constitutionalist. I've seen him, but that's just talk is cheap, right?
Well, it is cheap, and he says that this whole video was taken out of context. I don't know a situation or a context where ever a statement like that would be justified, ever. Yeah. And so I have to ask the question of that sheriff, do you really understand, or are you doing this intentionally? And like I said, words have meaning. And if you want to talk about context, let's talk about the context of bayonets being given to local law enforcement, this massive militarization that's happening where MRAPs are given to small towns with 2,000 and 3,000 people where there really is no justification at all for them to be there. Let's talk about the context of this particular sheriff who on October 20th, 2014 at a debate at Central Valley High School said, and I quote, "I with the stroke of a pen can take away your rights and I can take away your life in certain circumstances." That is a startling statement from somebody in the context of everything else that's going on.
I, with the strike of a pen, can affect your freedom. I can also take your life in certain circumstances. And you're telling me you don't want me held to the highest standard possible?
Well, I certainly hope the sheriff shows up tomorrow, Saturday, for the big protest that's scheduled. What do you expect to see tomorrow during the protest?
I think people just had enough. You know, this is kind of a line in the sand. This is the smoking gun. You know, for years we had thought that this was the case, that they were militarizing the police for reasons other than what they were saying publicly. And here we have a deputy so comfortable that he comes out and says this in a public place out in front of a Walmart. Yeah. The question is, what conversations went on before this? What training happened before this? And we're going to be doing a Freedom of Information request to that effect. But I think Saturday is really the start of the entire pushback of this. And I think that's an important part because rules of engagement are very key to law enforcement, to military. What you specifically are allowed to use a piece of equipment for, under what circumstances, that's drummed into you. Whether you're a law enforcement officer, whether you're a military veteran, it's drummed into you. So the fact that we have a 20-year veteran of the law enforcement out in Spokane Valley, and also somebody that has prior military experience, what was the rules of engagement that he was trained on and given for this MRAP?
Well, I think what's alarming to me is you can no longer tell the difference of, let's say, a military soldier and a police officer who's in full gear.
We were taught when I was coming up, we were taught in the military, and I'm a combat veteran, that you de-escalate, that you intentionally don't come in with a bunch of gear on to, you know, make and create hostility that's unnecessary. You de-escalate the situation, and that's what peace officers do. That's not happening.
Wow. Well, I'm certainly looking forward to seeing you there tomorrow at the protest. Great to have you on our side, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Absolutely.
That was Darren McBreen interviewing State Rep Matt Shea out of Spokane Valley. And if we just had 100 more Matt Shays, we could really lick this problem here on a state level, which is where it needs to happen. We need to start taking our states back and stop letting the federal government come in and start dictating things. We played a video a couple days ago, I think it was Thursday night, Dan Bidandi confronting the Rhode Island governor, because the Rhode Island governor is pushing this HUD plan where the federal government's going to come in and give some money, but you can only use it for certain things, and then you get to take people's land and stuff like that. We need to stand up. It looks like we got our feeds back in Spokane, which is good to see. It's the old Ustream technology working. You can check those out at Real Alex Jones and Alex Jones Live on Ustream. It looks like Real Alex Jones has a little bit better signal. And then we're also streaming this live on YouTube at the Alex Jones channel. Everything you're seeing here, the whole studio operation's going out live. So you could have both windows up at once, watching everything. It's pretty amazing, the technology, compared to where we were just when I got here in 2009. We were shooting on mini DV tape, had to come back, capture the tape, upload it. We didn't have live technology. I think when I went to Pittsburgh at the G20, walking around with his laptop and the camera on his laptop, and he was streaming stuff through a card that he had hooked onto his belt. And it was really cumbersome and unwieldy, and he couldn't do much with it but hold the laptop and turn it in different directions. So the technology has really come a long way. And the reason we're able to do all this and bring all this to you is because of our members at prisonplanet.tv and the people that also go shop at the InfoWars store, InfoWarsStore.com, InfoWarsShop.com. All the nutraceutical products. There's Prison Planet TV, $29.95 a year is our new special that we're running, and you can give that username and password up to 20 other people, and you can all be on at the same time using that username and password for $29.95 a year. We got some amazing specials going on. There's the Essential Health Pack. We still have that secretly on sale. So we were going to cut that deal, but we left it on for the weekend. And so you can take advantage of that. Amazing deal, $60, and you get Secret 12, Silver Bullet, and the X2. All three of those products I use. The X2 is amazing. I use it, if I get a cut or something, I'll put it on the Band-Aid, pop it right on there. Better than any kind of antibacterial cream that you could put on it. And it's all natural, comes straight out of the earth, and it's going to kill any type of bacteria or infection on your hand that might appear. At least it works for me that way. I also use the Silver Bullet in the same capacity. Amazing stuff. And you can all get it there. That holiday pack for $60, $59.95. And it's your support that keeps us going, keeps us on the air, lets us come here on a Saturday. You know, we've got stuff to do. The holidays, Christmas is right around the corner. We could be shopping, doing other things, but we came here because this is important. This is where the fight is right now. It's in Spokane. This is the Paul Revere moment of people getting active and just standing up saying, hey, listen, police out there. Hey, listen, military out there that are being trained that we're the enemy. We're not the enemy. We're here, but we know what's going on. We know what the battle plan is. So when it kicks off, don't come after us because we're going to be on your side. Don't come after us. We're not the ones that are causing the problems here. And it's amazing to see. Do we have Darren McBreen on Skype yet? I know we were working on getting him ready. All right. Yeah, we're going to have Darren McBreen live coming at you from Spokane, Washington on location.
We got here.
Yep, we're getting he's on Skype, and that's Jakari Jackson over there in the control room working on getting those guys focused on what's going on. And let's go to while we're waiting for that, we've got another clip that actually McBreen put together. It's called You'll Never Guess Who's Now Training the Police, and it's talking about how the Southern Poverty Law Center comes in and they offer training to police to talk about, we got to be wary of people who talk about the Constitution or the Bill of Rights or have an NRA sticker or a Ron Paul sticker even. Those people might be dangerous because they've woken up. They've woken up to the paradigm, the left-right paradigm that's fake about how both parties are totally controlled by giant special interests. They've woken up to that. So we need you to fear those people, police officers. And when you pull them over, be very careful. You might want to have your gun ready because if they make a sudden move, you might have to shoot them. So just be aware of those guys. Let's see what the Southern Poverty Law Center teaches our police out there. You guys ready for that clip? All right, let's roll it.
We are here in occupied Spokane Valley, Washington, where local law enforcement officials are being trained by the, wait for it, the Southern Poverty Law Center. That's right, truth is definitely stranger than fiction. Those of you unfamiliar with the SPLC, they're the ones who monitor so-called hate groups. And they are infamously known for comparing libertarians, conservatives, and constitutionalists to violent racists like the KKK, Aryan Brotherhood, and even neo-Nazis. Now, the SPLC, they are a non-profit organization largely funded by the likes of George Soros and company. And their rise to power is really escalating right now. They have multi-millions of dollars invested into this organization, and they have totally infiltrated the leftist lapdog mainstream media. It's not uncommon, for example, to find SPLC contributors embedded in the mainstream media, like we see on CNN and MSNBC. In fact, it was just a couple years ago where Chris Matthews, well, he had an hour-long special. It was called The Rise of the New Right, and it was basically scaring Americans into believing that there is a sudden surge of right-wing extremists on the rise in America, and they even went as far as implicating that Alex Jones is part of that threat. Now, the list is always absurd. I'm going to name some of the people and organizations that have been listed on the Southern Poverty Law Center's hate watch list. Names like Larry Pratt from Gun Owners of America, Pastor Chuck Baldwin, Joel Skousen, Judge Napolitano from Fox News, according to the SPLC, could be an extremist. Congressman Ron Paul, yes, they actually said that. Congressman Ron Paul, according to the SPLC, might be a dangerous right-wing extremist and potential terrorist. And the most dangerous right-wing extremist of all, due to his massive influence, is Alex Jones. So what happens when the SPLC trains our nation's police departments? Well, let's take a look.
The nice thing about this piece of equipment is that if somebody is directing fire toward a team that's trying to get in, they safely can pull right up to a front, take enemy fire, and still try to address a threat without being fear of getting shot.
So I'm thinking that is totally appropriate in Iraq, but what kind of a situation in the U.S. would you see that happening?
I mean, we've got a lot of constitutionalists and a lot of people that stockpile weapons, a lot of ammunition. I mean, we've got a lot of constitutionalists and a lot of people that stockpile weapons, a lot of ammunition. They have weapons here locally.
Well, you heard him right, ladies and gentlemen. That deputy just said that the MRAPs that were used for combat missions in Iraq and Afghanistan, they are now being used to target constitutionalists and gun owners. Needless to say, the residents of Spokane Valley aren't too happy about those comments. That's why this weekend they are organizing a protest against the military establishment and the occupying police force, not only here in Spokane Valley, Washington, but across the entire United States. So come out here and join us in Spokane Valley. It'll be in front of the police station this Saturday at 2:00 p.m. And let's send a message to the sheriff and to the federal government that the militarization of our nation's police departments will not be tolerated. Again, that's this Saturday, 2:00 p.m., Spokane Valley, Washington. We'll see you there. This is Darren McBreen, Infowars.com.
It's an excellent report, Darren. And that is who is training our police. And you could tell by his answer. She says, what do you need this for? Well, we got a lot of constitutionalists and people who have weapons and ammunition. Wow. I've got weapons and ammunition. Should I be concerned that I'm going to have a tank roll up in my house to take them away? Now, we have a live feed going on right now. We can see some of the dreaded constitutionalists right here. Some little kids. There's a guy with a camera. It's a lady in a coat. Some older people. I see some camouflage. I see a motorcycle gang jacket. I see some tents set up, a Penske truck.
Motorcycle club.
A motorcycle club, a gang, whatever. I'm in a gang. I'm in a gang for freedom. But look, this is who they're afraid of. They're afraid of average Americans. This is insane. And that's why we're there bringing this issue to the forefront. That's why we've been harping about this all week. That's why Mikhail Thalen put that article up last weekend. Notice that was last Saturday we put that article and video up. And now here we are a week later. We've generated all this news coverage. We've generated all these articles, videos, reports. And it's all to bring to light this issue that the police are being trained that average Americans are the enemy. And it needs to stop because average Americans are not the enemy. Just because we don't like what the president's doing or what some of the members of Congress are doing doesn't mean that we hate America or that we hate this country. We love this country, which is why we're fighting for it. That's why we're standing up. That's why we're here. That's why these people are out on a Saturday taking their time to stand up to let the police officers know in their local area that, hey, you need to get rid of these tanks. You need to stop training that we're the bad guys. You need to stop it. Back on December 16th, an article came out of the Spokesman Review. Spokane deputies' remarks in defense of MRAP go viral. And that was Sheriff Ozzie Knezovich saying that we took his article out of context. We took that video out of context because we used just like a minute. It was a minute of that video, which is 5 minutes long. And we're going to play the full video here. You can see for yourself. We weren't taking him out of context. He's been trained to do this. And they're just trying to be all nice and, well, you know, we're just out here in front of Walmart with our tank trying to be nice. They're out there to intimidate people and to compel compliance is what that is. It's all about if you don't listen up, might have a tank come in your house. Or, hey, we might get the wrong address. You know that poor baby that was in the baby crib? I think it was a pack and play, and he got a flashbang grenade thrown in there.
Baby Bobo.
Yeah, I was reading about that. And all the extensive injuries he had, his face was burned down to his teeth, his chest. They could see the bones in his chest. This kid's got millions of dollars in medical bills. And they say it's against the law for the SWAT team to pay for it because there's a law against that. Look at that poor baby. And they got the wrong house. It wasn't even the right house. And they don't even care. They're just like, well, sorry. And the cops aren't going to be indicted, and nobody's going to get in trouble. And that's the problem. There's two different sets of laws. There's a set of laws for the sheep and the citizens, which are us, and there's a set of laws for the cops, where you could have 4 pounds of marijuana in your house if you're a cop, and that's okay, because you're training your police dog. If I had 4 pounds of marijuana in my house, they're taking everything I got. They're taking my car, they're taking my house, they're taking my kids away. But hey, if you're a police officer and you don't report it, you could just, you're fine, no big deal. You're training your dog, that's cool. You throw a flashbang and almost kill a little baby, no big deal. Hey, you didn't know, not your fault. We'll just let that one slide. You shoot a 12-year-old kid after not even giving him 1 second to put his hands up or put the gun down. He didn't even have the gun in his hand, he had it in his waistband, and you shoot him, hey, you don't get indicted. Doesn't matter. And that's the problem, is there's two sets of standards in this country. There is this government class that likes to sit on top of us and be parasites and eat out our substance, and there's the rest of us. And we need to start standing up for our rights and stop letting the cops know who they really work for. They don't work for the Southern Poverty Law Center. They don't work for Barack Obama. They work for us. They work for you, and they work for me. I think we got Darren McBreen coming up here in a second via Skype. And once again, this is all brought to you thanks to our members at prisonplanet.tv who make all this possible. And I want to thank you for your support. And I want you to get the word out about this stuff. Take this. This will all go up on YouTube. Take this and spread it out to people. Send it to them. Send it to your local sheriff. Find out which side he's on. Find out if he's interested in having the Southern Poverty Law Center come in and train his troops. If he's interested in getting giant tanks and MRAPs. Talk to your local chief of police. You shouldn't be afraid of these guys. I mean, we just sent Joe Biggs over there with a camera yesterday to talk to him, and they already knew they have, I would say they probably have a dislike for us at this point because we're bringing this stuff out in the open, and they would rather, this stuff just stay underneath, and then they could come out anytime they want in their giant tank and terrorize the citizens. Darren McBreen, can you hear me right now?
Hey, by the way, I am a constitutionalist.
So we should be worried. Do we need to get a tank for you, Darren, to come take you out?
I guess. You know, what's strange is it's not just you know, the big cities across America that are getting these MRAPs. You've probably been telling everybody that's also the small towns and rural communities all across America. They're all getting MRAPs. And what's the scary part is you have organizations like the SPLC training the police into believing that constitutionalists, libertarians, and American patriots are the enemy. And that's a very scary thought.
The MIAC report, you got Bob Barr, people who support Bob Barr, people who watch Freedom to Fascism, Aaron Russo,
Paul,
who's not even with us anymore.
Yep.
Ron Paul.
Hey, you know what's funny? This is an open carry event, so I'm surrounded by all kinds of people with shotguns, rifles, handguns, and I'm not the least a bit concerned about that. What concerns me is Sheriff Knezevich when he says that he could take your freedoms away with the strike of a pen, okay, or with the stroke of a pen. That's what keeps me up at night, not all these people walking around with firearms.
We played that clip earlier. No, what keeps us safe is people walking around with firearms.
That's
I
right.
can't tell you how many
Exactly
instances there have been. There was the case of the people that saw their Christmas presents being stolen on their security camera. They held the people at bay with guns until the police arrived.
Yeah, that's true.
And they didn't shoot them. They could have shot those people probably. They would have been probably arraigned and all this on manslaughter charges. Okay, because if you're a citizen, you can't defend your property. That's not allowed. But if you're a cop, you could just shoot whenever you feel like it and nothing happens to you. There's no indictment. But they held the people at bay and they found other people's Christmas presents. So they saved 2 Christmases at once with the firearm. How many times have we seen there's the old lady in the jewelry store who takes out her gun and shoots at the 2 guys wanting to rob her? All right, it was an old lady who did that because an old lady with a firearm is just as strong as a 500-pound giant walking juggernaut. She can take him out.
That's exactly right, and that's why that they need to be able to have that freedom to defend themselves. So, and that's what we're talking about, you know, the freedom to carry firearms. And like I said, this is an open carry event. It is an honor to be here. I tell you what, we've met some of the most outstanding individuals I've come across. This whole community has a lot to be proud of. They're very lucky to have a representative like Matt Shea. This guy's outstanding character, really cool. But I just want to point out that what's going on, this isn't an isolated event, okay? What's going on here in Spokane, Washington, it's going on all over across the United States. The Southern Poverty Law Center, they're not just training the cops, training them across the board. They're everywhere. They're all over the United States, and this is something we've got to stop. You got to tell everybody that this can't be tolerated.
I totally agree. How many people you think have been there? What was it at its peak? How many people were there?
It's hard for me to tell. The parking lot's very small, and the people have been coming in and out. We've also, well, they're not there anymore. We've got a lot of people lined up on the road where the cars were going by, holding up signs. So my guess, at any given moment, there's 300 to 500 people. Josh, would you think that's about right? Yeah, 300 to 500 people at any given time. It's an excellent turnout because I tell you what, the weather's really bad, but I think that the people in this area are probably used to a little wet weather every now and then.
Yeah, I think that's par for the course in upstate Washington up there. And but you look at the freedom-loving Americans there. It really it makes me feel good that people are out there standing up for their rights, because that's the only way we're going to turn this around, is to educate people like Knezevich and say, listen, you need to get rid of the tanks and you need to train your people that constitutionalists aren't the enemy. And constitutionalists and extremists aren't the same thing. Do you agree with that?
Well, exactly, and he says he's a constitutionalist,
yeah.
but so does Barack Obama. So I mean, there you go.
Yeah, he's a constitutional law scholar, right?
Right, that's right.
Yeah, totally amazing. Out of all the reports you've put up, McBreen, what do you think your strongest report is out of all this?
Well, I don't know. I can just tell you that what I'm thinking, I think the biggest thing that we're facing right now is a domestic police force. Okay, this is an occupying army. And what the federal government, they're making enemies, and they're starting to be exposed. The more people that realize that there's corruption in federal government, it seems like that's what they're trying to do, is they need to install a domestic police force to get a stranglehold on the rest of the nation, because they want to basically get rid of anyone and everyone who opposes them. And I think that's exactly what we're looking at right now, and it's a very, very dangerous thing to happen.
I think you hit it on the head. This is the disconnect. People, you whine or bitch about the government or what they're doing. It's not the government itself. It's the people inside running it that are the problem. The corruption at the core is what we have to be going after. Not going, well, we got to get rid of government and have anarchy. No, that's not the answer. The answer is you get rid of the corrupt people. Whenever people do break the law, whether they're in the pristine government class, whether they're in the Congress or the president even, the local citizens, whenever you break the law, you have to pay the price. And when you don't break the law, and you don't just create laws so you can get everybody, because that's what they're doing now. It's a catch-all. Now you spit the wrong way, you're going to get brought up on charges and get a record, and then you can't get a gun. And then when they have background checks, if you do exchange a gun, that was that I-595 protest y'all were covering earlier today.
Yep.
You just exchange a gun between two people without a background check. It's incredible. It's incredible. And this is all done by people like Michael Bloomberg.
I know. Well, I was just as shocked when I heard that as I was that the Southern Poverty Law Center is training the nation's police departments. I mean, I thought I was in the twilight zone. I could not believe it. But, you know, it's really not much different when you look at it. You get the same training and the same. We saw the training manuals from the Department of Justice, the Department of Defense, Department of Homeland Security, the FBI, and now even the SPLC. So they're all working together in tandem, working together to manipulate and train the police departments across the country into believing that patriots are the bad guys. And here's another thing. The SPLC is also, they've embedded themselves inside the mainstream media. So on a regular basis, you can always see an SPLC contributor to the likes of like MSNBC, CNN. So the federal government can't get away with this total takeover without help from mainstream media manipulation. This way the TV heads walk around and they see all this demonization and character assassination going on mainstream television. And unfortunately, a lot of these guys buy into that, and they get scared when they see someone with a firearm or someone who's a patriot, someone who has a "don't tread on me" flag, and it makes them nervous. And that's what's going on. And the government cannot be successful in this takeover without vital help from the mainstream media, and we need to call attention to that as well.
I totally agree. You hear him on NPR. Oh, we have someone from the Southern Poverty Law Center who'd like to.
Is that your NPR voice?
That's
dude?
my NPR voice, and I'm an authority on everything, and we really have to watch out for these constitutionalists because these are the people that are going to take away our freedom, and we need to get rid of their firearms because they're the problem with democracy. Because we have a democracy. That's all they want to tell you is that you have a democracy over and over again. They don't even tell you it's a constitutional republic. They think you're stupid. People who watch NPR.
Not a democracy. It is a constitutional republic. Yep,
hey, exactly. McBreen, now, let's get into a subject that they like to talk about a lot. They always like to talk about race and sex. You've got a couple guys back there with a rainbow "Don't Tread on Me" flag. What's the deal with those guys? Are they... tell me about them. Have you met them?
I don't know. We haven't had a chance to talk. I don't know if Biggs talked to them or not, but it was brought up in the car.
I think we need to interview those guys because if we do have a gay couple who's out there fighting for freedom, we need to show people that hey,
why not? Yeah.
we're not homophobes. We don't have a problem with that. We like people who like freedom. If you like freedom, you like me. That's what it's all about. It's not about what color your skin is or who you like to hop in bed with. That's stuff we don't care about.
They can have a beer with me anytime. Yeah.
There you go.
By the way, Mikhail said that they were a known gay couple that goes around and talks about their freedom, and they use that.
Well, maybe we'll get a chance.
There you go. I'd say get an interview with them. I think this is something that we need to show all the liberals that hate us. And I want to bring up something about the MSNBC. Right around the time after this the Boston bombing happened, they had an article. And it said, Alex Jones doesn't make bombs. He makes bombers. And implying the fact that he made the Sarnet brothers go out and cause the Boston bombing. Yep. And we know those guys have CIA ties. Alex Jones isn't telling the Boston bombers to go do that. And I don't even think those guys did it personally. I think they were patsies. If you look at any of these attacks, there's always a patsy involved. And these guys just happen to be patsies, and they didn't kill the second one.
Well, I was just going to say, and that's more, we were just talking about the demonization and character assassination by the mainstream. And remember, it was right there in the SPLC training guide that said Alex Jones is one of the #1 threats because of he's got such a big following.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it dangerous. Yeah. Right. Large audience. That's right.
Yeah, exactly. And that's not what we should be afraid. Why are we afraid of a guy with a microphone?
Yeah.
We shouldn't be afraid of a guy with a microphone unless he's giving you disinformation. And that's what you need to watch out for, especially with MSNBC. CNN's known for just doing fake news, just across the board fake news. They love it. And Fox News isn't any better. They got the people on Fox News now saying, hey, we're awesome because we torture. I mean, it's just, it's despicable on all levels. There's the flag there, the rainbow "Don't Tread on Me" flag. Hey, I think that's great. I think we should have More gay people out there with "Don't Tread on Me" flags saying, "We want our guns, we want our freedom." All right. So when the liberals try to come and say you're homophobic, we can say, "What? No, we love freedom, and you're welcome too when you love freedom. You can come on in." Darren, anything else you want to add? What's the scene like right there now? Are people eating barbecue yet?
Yeah, they're starting to barbecue, and we've just, it's amazing how many people have, as soon as they see Josh, myself, Joe Biggs, just the smile on their faces and how they've just really loved the show. They've given you a shout out, everybody there at home base at the Texas Command Center, and of course, Alex Jones. And it's just a really, really good community. They have a lot to be proud of. They've all come together. And I think this is a shining example for the rest of the country, and I'm damn proud to be here with them.
Right on. Yeah, Alex was dealing with a lot of issues this week, and he couldn't be here. And I called him up. I just want to let you know we're going to go live tomorrow. We talked to the crew. We got enough guys that we can get up here and get this thing running, turn the ship on, and get it aimed the right direction. And he goes, "That's it. I'm coming in. I'll be in the first hour." I'm like, "Yeah." And then that makes me feel good that people want to get up on a Saturday and come out here and talk about freedom and talk about liberty and talk about having firearms and protecting our country. That's what I like.
That's right.
That's what I want to hear. I want to see more of that. I want to hear more of that. I love to see it. There's a lot of freedom lovers out there right next to me on this giant TV wall, paid for by PrisonPlanet.tv members. I mean, they're making all this possible, helping keep us on the front lines, and then spreading the word and getting people to better their health. I mean, what are we offering? We're offering information, we're offering health, and we're offering a different message than what you see on the mainstream media, because both of them push for war. They both push for war.
I was going to say and it's not just everybody coming up, "Hey, tell Alex that we said hello." We've had people come up to us and tell us that they've tried, a lot of the health products, and that's the first thing that comes to mind. So, and I thought that was pretty cool too, So they're just like, and they ask us if hey, you guys take the nascent iodine, and so a lot of people, and we've been recognized not just at these protests, but we'll be in a diner, and no matter where we go in this town, it's amazing. People recognize us, come up, and like I said, the community is awesome.
I remember I went with Alex to we were going to confront Piers Morgan. We hauling butt out of the airport to go meet up with the car that was going to pick us up.
Yeah.
3 people along the way stopped and said hello. And you know who they were? It was the baggage guy, a guy picking up trash, and I think I don't know if he was a security guard. He had sort of a uniform on, but I don't know if it was if he was a representative of something or not. All of them came up, shook his hand, knew exactly who he was. That's the message of freedom and liberty, resonates with everybody, big and small.
That's right.
And it's the big people up there that are afraid of that. They're afraid of when the ants find out that there's more of ants than there are grasshoppers, that we can go, "Hey, you know what? We're cutting your funding. We're cutting your term limit. We're voting you out. If you don't stand up for what we believe in, for freedom and liberty and prosperity, well, we got to get you out." That's it. That's the message that we're here to deliver today. And we've been going 2.5 hours now, live on the air, showing you some great stream. Awesome. There's a great flag right behind you, "Don't Tread on Me" flag. Yeah. I mean, it just makes me feel good that you guys are all there right in front of the police station right now saying, has anybody come out from the police station?
I was just going to say, we're right here in front of the police station, but it seems like there's a few people missing.
Yeah.
I don't see the sheriff, and here he is on YouTube. He stepped into our world, which I think John Bound pointed that out. He stepped into our world, goes on YouTube saying he challenged Alex Jones to a debate, InfoWars to a debate. And have you guys seen the sheriff? Anybody seen the sheriff?
We fly 2 camera crews.
Yeah. So I don't know. They said he left on a pre-planned vacation. So, and yeah. I imagine he'll be back on Monday.
That's right. He's, I'm ready. I'm ready now. I've heard everything you had to say. I'm ready. No, I'm a constitutionalist. That's why we need tanks, to protect us from constitutionalists.
Barack Obama's a constitutionalist too, right?
And I don't mean any ill will to that deputy who said we have these tanks for constitutionalists.
Dude, he's just doing what he learned. He's regurgitating what he learned.
He's a product of the system.
Training.
He's a product of the system, and all he needs to be.
Maybe this will teach him as well, because we need to redirect these guys, and that's what we've been saying. We need to have an open dialogue. So I wish, like hell, the police would come out here. They need to talk to us. We're here. You know, everybody showed up. You know, and we're not going to be in a yelling and screaming match. We want to have just a decent conversation, sit down like grown people and have a conversation. But they don't seem to be interested in that. Obvious.
Joe went and did that last night. And, you know, at least they sat down and talked with him. He's like, well, do you think they're going to be mad? I said, it doesn't matter if they're mad at you. No. They challenged us to a debate. Go there and tell them you're ready for, you know, you'd like to talk to the sheriff. And if the sheriff's not there, find somebody else to talk to. Let's talk. That's right.
And
let's
and
start
they did
talking.
come out and talk to Biggs. And we do got to give them props. They did allow us to come out here in their parking lot and set up, you know,
it's a parking lot we paid for, but that's all right.
Yeah.
You know, we paid for the parking lot. We pay for the maintenance on that building.
I want to say this too. You know, we've been here the last couple of days. There's cops running in and out of here all the time. I haven't seen one cop today, so I haven't seen any police right here.
They're on holiday, you know.
Yeah,
and it's a shame. Why not have a cop come out there and address the crowd? Get on the mic.
It's a shame. It really is a shame. They're afraid. You know, it's just it's blatantly obvious what's going on. But we're going to hold them to task, and we got to redirect them, and we're not giving up. We're not giving up, and we're going to win this whole thing.
Totally agree. Hey, who was the guy speaking earlier with the goatee? He was a couple before Matt Shea was speaking. Did you get his name?
I did not, and I was probably doing interviews because, you know, we have reports going out later, so I didn't see all the speakers.
Try to find that guy and get a quick interview with him. He's good.
All right.
And interview the guys with the rainbow flag, because we need more rainbow warriors on the side of freedom and liberty. And if a couple people see a couple group of guys out there, then they'll get interested in joining and go, oh, these guys aren't that scary, you know, because we're not. All we do is love freedom. What's wrong with that?
That's right.
I've been to a ton of these open carry events. There's nothing to be afraid of.
Absolutely, I agree. So, yeah, let's do it, man.
All right. Anything you want to add before we let you go back to interviewing people and checking out the scene?
Well, like I said, this is very, very important that we get this message across, that the federal government, they are organizing a domestic police force, okay? And that's why these MRAPs are showing up. That's why you can no longer tell the difference between a military soldier and a police officer who's in full gear. So it looks like an occupying force, and with these MRAPs that are showing up in large cities, small towns, all across America, and we knew that they were getting these training as far as being trained that patriots were criminals and extremists, because we've seen the training manuals, but now we know that they're definitely starting to set in because of that guy's comments the other day. So that's a scary thought. We got to redirect that and educate them otherwise.
Yeah, the training is working. SPLC, you guys are doing a great job. You've got everybody believed out there, all the law enforcement, that we're the enemy, because we go, hey, we need a Second Amendment to protect ourselves against a tyrannical government. Hey, what the government's doing is not right. We need to stand up against torture. Isn't right. We need to take the people, instead of putting the only person that's in jail over torture is the whistleblower. That's not right.
That's right. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, when we get back to interviewing people, I expect to see 12 more reports tonight. Now, you guys are doing a great job. I've really enjoyed watching your reports. You guys have done a stand-up job. I think you got a good team there. Hey, there's the guy with the flag right now. Go interview him now. Let's talk to him on the air. Tell him he's live.
Where's that?
Right over there to your,
Hold on. Hey, we just want to talk to you. We saw the Don't Tread on Me flag, rainbow flag at the same time. Damn glad to have you out here. Tell us about your what's up with the rainbow flag and the Don't Tread on Me.
Okay, well, this is the LGBT flag. Obviously, everybody knows about that, but we include the Gaston on top of that. Yeah. Just stand for liberty, liberty for all, and gun rights, LGBT rights. Just stand for liberty, true libertarian party.
Okay. How do you feel about the comments that were made by the deputy sheriff with the MRAP going after constitutionalists and gun owners? Did that?
Well, that really is against what this country is all about. Yeah. You know, we're founded on the Constitution. If you're against that and you're an enemy of the state, there's a problem.
Absolutely. What are you carrying?
This is AR-10 and my Glock 10mm extended barrel.
Reason why we should be afraid of you? Are you an extremist?
Oh, are you terrified right now? I'm sure. You're shaking. Yeah, no, perfectly safe, trained, gun owner. Yeah. You know, haven't hurt anybody yet. You know, they don't go off by themselves. You know.
Yeah. Oh, you have to actually pull like the trigger.
There's the trigger. Yeah, you have to point it too. Yeah. It helps. Yeah. So. Yeah. It's just a safe gun owner. I mean, responsible gun ownership is important. Right in America, right, natural right to all human beings across the world, really. Absolutely. And you know, everybody should exercise their right, get trained, and learn how to shoot.
All right. I agree with you so much. It's an honor to have you here, man. We're just so glad you came out.
Yeah.
All right.
Excellent.
Take care.
And that's it. We have
there
to
you
be the beacon of light out there to show the rest of the world how they should be living. Okay, the rest of the world should have the same standard of living as us. It's possible. We can all have a great country that we want to stay in, okay, instead of having everybody come to the United States. Everybody could have a great country, and it's all about talking about freedom, liberty, and the way it happens, I'm sorry, it's the Second Amendment, people. If you don't have a Second Amendment and you don't have people knowing how to shoot and properly trained and properly armed, you're going to have governments taking over, because that's what government does. Government's only job is to grow bigger and grow badder and make more of a mess of everything, instead of just being, you know, protecting the borders and maintaining some ports and issuing the currency. No, they don't do any of that. They do a little bit of that, but it's all about getting in your business and telling you how to live, and that's what we don't need.
That's right. We don't.
And
we're not
people
gonna
all over
tolerate
the
it.
world, people all over the world know how to take care of themselves. You just have to let them. And we can start it all here, and it could all start with this. This could be the shot heard around the world, and we didn't even have to fire a shot. We just had to call it out. Call out the tyranny when you see it. That's all you have to do. When you see tyranny, say that's tyranny. And hey, did y'all meet the lady who gave us that video? Did y'all meet with her? Is she there?
I think she tried to contact Biggs this morning. I'm not sure if I think they're playing phone tag.
Yeah, well, that's all it takes. All it takes is having your camera on and running and going and engaging with the cops. And if they say stuff that's not right or stuff that sounds like boilerplate talking points from the SPLC, then you need to put that video on YouTube, send us a copy, and we'll make a stink about it.
That's how this all got started.
That's right. We'll make a stink about it, because that's our job. Our job is to make a stink about this so the cops are aware that we're watching them just like they think they're watching us. And we don't mean any ill will towards anybody. Big Breen, you got anything else to say?
No, that's it. You know, a lot of people are starting to leave, so I want to talk to some folks before they take off. But like I said, this community has a lot to be proud of, and it's been an honor to be here with them, and I'm just so lucky to be here.
All right, thank you very much. That's Darren McBreen live on the scene in Spokane Valley at the MRAP protest, which is at the Spokane Valley Police Department at 12710 East Sprague Avenue. And if you're there, you're there. If you live around the corner, you might as well get over there. McBreen, go ahead. You can get on out of here.
All right, see you.
We'll see you later. And I want to play, this is kind of a long video that John Baum put together. Sort of the Sheriff Ozzie Knizovich kind of eating his own words. He takes bits of what he's saying and then compares it to the actual real world that's going on when he's claiming that we have people out there that are threatening his deputy's life on comments, and then showing that with people on TV threatening Alex Jones to go out and get shot. I mean, it's amazing. This guy really needs to be educated. And I think that's what we're doing now. I think he's got a little education. He's on his vacation right now. Hopefully he's reading the Constitution. So you guys ready for that clip? It's like 25 minutes long, if you can find it. And we still got some more shots out there going live from Spokane Valley. And it's just liberty lovers and patriots standing up. And that's what we need more of. We need more people out there getting mad and understanding that we're not the enemy. And we have nothing to be ashamed of because we like guns and because we like freedom. There's nothing wrong with that. And we need to export that idea to other places that don't have it, these cities that have no gun rights, where they're taking people's guns away. They're not letting people film the police in Illinois now. I mean, it's crazy. You can't film the police now. They call it eavesdropping. It's utterly insane of what they're trying to do with basic human liberty. Totally uncalled for. So we have to stand up when this stuff happens. We have to speak out. We have to come together and start screaming at the top of our lungs that this ain't right, and you need to go back and get yourself educated. Ozzie Knizovich. Do we have that video ready? All right, let's go to it. And we'll be right back, and we'll close out the show after this video.
Today I'm here to talk to you a little bit about a InfoWars report that states that a Spokane County deputy stated that we need a armored personnel vehicle to deal with constitutionalists that have stockpiled ammunition.
That is totally appropriate in Iraq, but what kind of a situation in the U.S. would you see that happening?
I mean, we've got a lot of constitutionalists and a lot of people that stockpile weapons, a lot of ammunition. I mean, we've got a lot of constitutionalists and a lot of people that stockpile weapons.
That report, in and of itself, is very misleading. What you haven't been told is a particular interview started by a lady filming deputies at a charity function that were working with the MRAP, and her whole contention was that we were trying to desensitize children to the fact that we had an MRAP, that it was all propaganda. She then proceeded to interview not just one deputy, but a sergeant, a corporal, and a deputy. My question is why is only 3 seconds of that interview being shown by InfoWars?
Because we are engaged in real journalism here. We go wherever the truth leads us. Now, we've seen a long slide towards a paramilitary police state in this country. I've been talking about it for a long time, made 4 films on the subject since the late 1990s, and we are now here. They've gone from denying that this is happening to admitting it.
The FBI, the DHS, and the nation's police departments, they're being trained that we are the enemy. And look, I've got here a Department of Justice Constitutionalist Extremist Guide right here in my hand. This was published by the DOJ. And it says to look out for American citizens who are members of the Patriot Movement. This is a training manual that's titled Investigating Terrorism and Criminal Extremism, published by the DOJ, complete with terms and concepts to help recognize potential extremists. And I'm going to read some of their bullet points, and you're not going to believe this. This is what they consider to be extremist speech. Anyone who talks about black helicopters, well, they are obviously prone to conspiracy theory beliefs, and they should be monitored and considered a threat, according to the DOJ. If you talk about the Bilderberg Group or the Trilateral Commission or the CFR, you are a threat. Anyone who talks about the Illuminati or the New World Order, well, you're a threat. And if you stockpile food, water, and weapons, you might be an extremist, according to the United States Department of Justice.
My other question is, since this happened on December 7th, and InfoWars didn't reach out until December 12th at 9:39 p.m., why didn't they bother to try to take a chance and contact the sheriff's office during operation hours so we could have a chance to respond to this? They contacted Representative Matt Shea. Why not talk to the sheriff before running the story?
Let's go to John in Washington. Go ahead, John.
Hello, guys. This is a fellow who lived in Spokane, Washington. I operated a large informational website in Spokane, and I lived there, and it got so bad with surveillance and harassment that I moved to a neighboring county. I live about 14 miles off the paved road, and twice out here in recent history, I have seen Bearcats on the dirt road right at sundown patrolling, and they were not the same model. They were 2 different ones. I was in an adjacent county minding my own business, 10:45 one night in the year 2005, and on a telephone call from Spokane County to Stevens County, the Stevens County sheriff, who was Craig Thayer, picked me up at my home, transported me across county lines, turned me over to the Spokane County Sheriff's Department, who gulagged me for over a week without getting to see a magistrate, with absolutely no telephone call whatsoever. I lost $36,000 in construction contracts because of it, and nobody knew where I was, and my dogs were locked in the house with no food. So I can tell you for a fact that Spokane County not only handles Spokane County like a commissar, they actually dictate to Stevens County, Pend Oreille County, Ferry County, all of the adjacent counties, Lincoln County. Whatever Spokane says, they will do it.
Spokane's Mayor David Condon released more details on his police action plan this morning. Take a look. It includes having officers connect with communities by attending neighborhood council meetings. Officers will also receive specialized training to help them deal with vulnerable populations like the mentally ill. And Condon wants to enhance civilian oversight of the police department.
All of these changes coming from recommendations out of the Use of Force Commission, and those do include those body cameras in which all Spokane police officers will be wearing one of those by the end of the year. And all of these changes, of course, sparked by cases like Otto Zem, in which a former Spokane police officer was sent to prison for using excessive force.
This is video of Sergeant Pete Bunch from 2005. Last Friday, Bunch was reportedly walking a couple blocks from his South Hill home when a neighbor called police thinking he was a prowler. She'd watched him walk through her backyard and her neighbor's yards. Court documents say the first officer on scene stopped Bunch in the street, but Bunch wouldn't look at him and appeared to be in a daze. Police say Bunch was uncooperative and wouldn't answer questions, but he did say he was looking for his lost dog.
Is obstructing and resisting offense that can get a sheriff's deputy fired?
Depends on the act. It's not one of those that is good for your career, I can tell you this.
To tell you that we have suffered a terrible tragedy this last night. 11 o'clock, my father got out of his bed responding to what he thought was a burglar and took a gun with him. Challenged that vehicle in his parking lot there in front of the plant farm. Subsequently, a deputy sheriff shot him and killed him.
We're told Jacobs wanted to turn himself in after a night of drinking on a child support warrant. 3 deputies showed up at their door around 5:40 Saturday morning.
The police knocked on the door. I opened it. They asked if he was there. I moved out of the way. They come in. They said, "There's a knife. There's a knife."
We're told one deputy shot and killed Jacobs.
He had a knife that was in a big, thick case that was in the chair behind him.
Next thing I know, the cops kicked in the door. I stepped back. Kenny reached for the knife, and they shot him.
In the end, the Department of Justice will issue recommendations, and if they aren't followed, the Spokane Police Department would risk stricter oversight by the DOJ.
Apparently, it wasn't that hot of a story if they waited a week. InfoWars and Alex Jones, in my opinion, this is standard operation procedure. They only give you what fits their agenda.
That conspiracy theory comes from the mother of all conspiracy theories that seduce Republicans. It's an internet talk show called InfoWars.
How on earth does that kind of rhetoric to the American people serve any kind of sensible, rational purpose?
Alex Jones may sound crazy, but still has 300 million YouTube, he had 300 million people that have watched him on YouTube, and that sort of fringe, arch-conservative, deeply, I think, racist strain is being tapped into at crazy profit by people in the media.
We're getting the big stories wrong over and over again.
If you take a look at their site right now, you will find death threats towards this deputy that remain on that website. In my opinion, that is unconscionable.
Challenge Alex Jones to a boxing match, show up with a semi-automatic that you got legally, and pop him.
I'd love to see that. In uniform.
Especially when this deputy has 20 years of law enforcement service, has a Medal of Valor, and has served his nation in the United States military. He has taken the oath of office. He has sworn to protect and uphold the Constitution. It is sad and regrettable that he chose his words poorly because he used broad brush strokes.
It's totally appropriate in Iraq, but what kind of a situation in the U.S. would you see that happening?
I mean, we've got a lot of constitutionalists and a lot of people that stockpile weapons.
If you ask people, many people call me a constitutionalist. I wear that title with honor because I do firmly believe in the Constitution of the United States. If you take a look at the facts, Washington law enforcement has done more to protect the rights, especially the gun rights, of its citizens than many of these groups that are decrying the deputy's comments. We have worked against the Washington version of the Brady Bill. I myself and law enforcement in the state of Washington in 2014 stepped out against I-594, which, in my opinion, was a very broad brush law that is unenforceable and has issues that affected gun rights. We have also taken the time to ensure, I personally ensured that in our county's emergency operation plan, that it reads that no law-abiding citizen will ever have their gun rights or their guns taken from them during a declared emergency. Again, Washington law enforcement has done more to protect the Second Amendment and stand for the Constitution than many of these groups. And it is sad that Representative Matt Shea has taken these tacks of attacking his own law enforcement agency multiple times now.
Why do you need bayonets? Why do local law enforcement need bayonets? Give me one instance where they could use those things. And I think that that's what this particular individual, when they interviewed the deputy, was asking the same question. And the question has to be answered by him, not by the public. He's the one that has to defend why he's against being a constitutionalist, being against somebody that loves the rule of law, that loves the Constitution, being against somebody that believes that the Constitution means what it says. He's got to defend that. And his deflection, which is what that 9-minute video was really kind of what he does here in Spokane County. Is a long pattern of behavior of bullying and intimidation. And that's really the way it came across to me and many other elected officials out here in Spokane Valley.
I didn't hear Matt decry the fact that people that carried the banner that we all support of our constitutional rights, when these people purposely went out and killed police officers.
Whether this is staged, and boy, there's a lot of evidence it is, or whether this is just organic mind control of the sick culture. People that feel so empty and poor and pathetic that they want power, so they imagine they're comic book villains and go out and kill police. Probably 100 times the last 6 months, I have said that you're going to start seeing police officers getting shot in public, and it's going to be blamed on the Tea Party and, quote, super patriots, because it's in the dramas, it's in the sitcoms, it's in the movies, it's in the comic books. And whether it's staged black op false flags, which we know have happened in the past, or whether it's weak-minded schizophrenics or people with all sorts of personality disorders going out and doing it, it's the sick culture.
In Las Vegas, after the Bundy incident, 2 of those people that went down to support Bundy killed 2 Las Vegas police officers and draped their bodies in the Gadsden flag. I did not hear Representative Shea decry the death of those officers. And quite frankly, as constitutional loving citizens, we all should have decried the heinous acts committed by some that claim to hold our beliefs, because they truly do not hold our beliefs.
Deport British citizen Piers Morgan for attacking Second Amendment. Take a look. More than 104,000 people have signed it so far. And joining me now is one of the people behind the petition, Alex Jones. He's host of the Alex Jones Show.
Well, Hitler took the guns. Stalin took the guns. Mao took the guns. Fidel Castro took the guns. Hugo Chavez took the guns. And I'm here to tell you, 1776 will commence again if you try to take our firearms. Doesn't matter how many lemmings you get out there on the street begging for them to have their guns taken. We will not relinquish them. Do you understand? That's why you're going to fail, and the establishment knows no matter how much propaganda, the Republic will rise again when you attempt to take our guns.
That is the biggest problem we have in America today, is that we have people that preach fear and hatred
And what we need to do is change the way in which people think about guns, especially young people. One thing that I think is clear with young people and with adults as well is that we just have to be repetitive about this. It's not enough to simply have a catchy ad on a Monday and then only do it every Monday. We need to do this every day of the week and just really brainwash people into thinking about guns in a vastly different way.
If I could have gotten 51 votes in the Senate of the United States for an outright ban, picking up every one of them, Mr. and Mrs. America, turn them all in, I would have done it.
I wrote Blacklash to expose the failures of the progressives and also to push back on the black liberal establishment whose message is about wealth redistribution and race baiting. Here we have the MSNBC characters like Touré and Al Sharpton who are spewing this nonsense.
Break through our kind of private idea that kids belong to their parents or kids belong to their families and recognize that kids belong to whole communities. Once it's everybody's responsibility and not just the households, then we start making better investments.
This is nothing more than a continuation of that preaching of fear and hatred against law enforcement and the government. Our whole society has become polarized, and it is a shame that we allow these hate mongers and these fear mongers to control the day.
And CNN, Time Magazine, MSNBC saying, hey, it's good to riot, it's legitimate. Louis Farrakhan and others saying, yeah, go ahead and target whites. That's crazy. You like the Bosnian guy, who I guarantee has no connection to slavery in this country, barely speaks English, getting his head clubbed in by hammers. I mean, by black folks. I mean, really, Farrakhan? Really? He deserved to have his head clubbed in?
It violates my belief in what America can be. To hear young people feeling marginalized and distrustful even after they've done everything right. That's not who we are.
That is President Obama in a press conference yesterday. I was monitoring all the major morning shows on cable and broadcast TV this morning, NBC, CBS, CNN, MSNBC, 100% hyping and race baiting, where the only issue in America is black versus white. And the people versus the police. No discussion of the banking complex, the military-industrial complex, the legal law firm complex and accounting firm complex that is tax-free above the law, that has publicly militarized and globalized and federalized our police, and are the authors of the vicious police tactics and policies that have been put forward. They're installing the same tactics in Europe, in Australia, in the United States, in Canada. Someone questions the police, so they choke them to death. In the case up in New York, where riots are promised if the cops aren't indicted. And in that case, I mean, they really do kill him. They really do grab him. He's not resisting him. He's just talking to him. And 4 white cops kill him deader than a hammer.
I am asking every citizen of Spokane County to step up and say no more. No more demonizing the very people that have sworn to protect you because of 3 seconds of video and 3 seconds of something taken out of context. That deputy is a very great individual. He serves his community well, and I will be having a discussion with him about his choice of words. But let me leave no doubt in your minds that we are constitutionally based, we enforce the Constitution, and at no time will that piece of equipment be used to take your constitutional rights away. But it will be used to save your lives. And that's why we have it. We have threats from around the world that we deal with on a daily basis. We have threats of people going into our schools and shooting our children. We have threats of people putting bombs on our streets. We have the equipment to deal with those threats. And that equipment is there to save your lives and to protect the lives of the men and women that ride in them to come and rescue you. This is Sheriff Ozzie Knezovich. I hope I have made it very clear that I am appalled by the misinformation put out by InfoWars without the opportunity to address 3 seconds of comment. Where's the rest of the tape? Where's the rest of the interview? Where's the tape showing the individual that taped this saying that we were trying to use this as propaganda, this piece of equipment, to desensitize children towards it? Where is that? If you really want to have the debate, I will be more than happy to debate anybody on this issue. I will be more than happy to look Alex Jones in the eyes and tell him my opinions. And I am more than willing to debate Representative Matt Shea at any time on these issues.
I think that anytime we have somebody that is saying innocent citizens that have done nothing else other than love the Constitution are somehow the enemy, we don't live in a free country anymore. And when that is allowed to stand, then tyranny gets a foothold. And I think that that's one of the reasons there's been such this great public outcry here in Spokane Valley, Washington, why there's going to be a protest in front of the sheriff's office this weekend, and why he needs to take action to do, I think, the right thing, which would be to apologize to the citizens, do some remedial constitutional rights classes, establish a citizen board to oversee the deployment of that MRAP, or even better yet, get rid of it and send it back. And also to meet with the people he's offended instead of trying to blame them for what his deputy said. And clearly, what other conversations occurred before this to make that deputy so comfortable that he could say that in a public place in front of a Walmart?
Even today, there is little value in ensuring the survival of our nation if our traditions do not survive with it. There is very grave danger that an announced need for increased security will be seized upon by those anxious to expand its meaning to the very limits of official censorship and concealment. That I do not intend to permit to the extent that it's in my control.
That was a very lengthy report put together by John Bound. Amazing. If the guys can get that shot back, the mainstream media has finally arrived. And so they're going to say, well, about 20 people or so showed up to protect their constitutional rights and claim the government's overreaching. That's what the mainstream media does. Notice InfoWars was there from the beginning. We were there to show what's going on. Talk to the people that are on the ground. Listen to the speakers. We've been there since Thursday. Thursday morning, we were on the ground, ready to go. And now the mainstream media is going to show up and go, oh, 30 or so people were here protesting the sheriff's MRAP when there were hundreds earlier. And of course, they don't want to say that. I want to go to a quick article we have on Infowars.com. Gunman kills self after 2 NYPD cops fatally shot execution style as revenge for Garner. I'm not sure. I don't have the whole article here, but I do notice here it says the tragic heroes, this is the 3rd paragraph, were working overtime as part of an anti-terrorism drill when they were shot point blank in the heads by a lone gunman who approached them on the foot of the sidewalk. That's interesting that they were part of a terrorism drill. And that's why I always see this weirdness happen. Always happens in drills. So, and then I guess he shot himself afterward. We'll get more attacks, but now they're saying this is a revenge for Garner, which we've been telling people this is what's going to happen. This is part of the designed race war. That's why they've been fomenting this. And I think the cops that choked out Eric Garner should be indicted. That guy was standing there. He had his hands like this. No reason for him to get choked out. And then he said, I couldn't breathe. How many times? We've given you over 3 hours of coverage now on this situation of what's going on with our sheriffs, that they need to be educated, and what the Constitution is and what it means, and there's a difference between extremists and constitutionalists. And I know in that video he thinks we took it all out of context. A whole 5-minute video. Y'all pull up the article, show people where that 5-minute video is, and Maybe we should end with that. Play that whole video so people can see. Full video. Proves cops targeting constitutionalists despite sheriff's claims. The full video that she sent us. And thank God we have that citizen out there who decided, hey, there's an MRAP out of Walmart. Maybe I should pull my camera out and start talking to these police. Maybe I should do that. And what she found was a little nugget that shows that they're being trained to come after people who own guns and who believe in the Constitution. And that's SPLC training from the beginning. And we need to tell people that this is what's going on, and you need to wake up sheriffs in your area. So take this 3-hour presentation, give it to the sheriffs in your area. Take our other short clips. We've got clips all over the Alex Jones channel. We even created a playlist for Spokane. It's got all the videos. Break those up. Create your own videos. Send them out to people. Let's keep this dialogue going, because as it delves into this and degenerates into this race war that the media is trying to push and the government's trying to push, we need to tell the cops, look, we stand with you, and we're not the enemy. Gun owners are not the enemy. Constitutionalists are not the enemy. We're your friends. Don't get sucked into a race war. It's not gonna end up good for anybody, and that's not what we want. We want to take back this country peacefully through a war that's in your mind going on right now. It all starts right here. It all starts in how you view the situation. Do you think it's right that we have tanks on the streets in Mayberry, MRAPs for Mayberry? Is that the country that we want? You got to think about that. So get that 5-minute video clip. We'll go out with that. Thank you all for joining us. This has been Rob Dew reporting for Infowars.com, PrisonPlanet.com, PrisonPlanet.tv. Thank you all for tuning in on Infowars.com/show.
Hey, Dew, before we go to that video, I just want to comment on what the sheriff was saying. He was saying that we're hate mongers, that we're doing this, that we're promoting violence towards police on our website, which could not be further from the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can have people go on any comment section for anything, any form in the world, and put in some, let's kill whoever type comment, and he's taking that as, and the way he presented it was as if we wrote some article, like Mikhail wrote an article saying, let's kill the police, and that's not what happened at all. So for a man who wants to talk about disinformation and putting out unethical, unrealistic content, his statement was an unrealistic comment saying that we want violence toward the police. Now, do we point out when the police are being violent or they do something we think is a bridge too far? Yeah, I've done reports about them arresting college girls for walking across the street, jaywalking, or not obeying the traffic control devices. And regardless of what you think about Eric Garner, some people say he was resisting arrest. Even if he was, that's not a capital offense the last time I checked. You can't choke a guy to death for snatching his hands away from you. So, yeah, we will point out when they do bad things, but the people we've talked about today, Sheriff David Clark in Milwaukee, Sheriff Nick Finch in Florida, many other sheriffs and police officers as well, the guy who bought the boots for the homeless guy in New York. When we see officers doing good things, we promote those officers just as much as we talk about the officers who are doing things that they don't need to be doing. So he's trying to disinform people who would watch his video but not go back and watch us and put us in the proper context. So with that, I think that's a good lead into the 5-minute video.
I totally agree. There was a story just the other day of a cop who they were going after a lady who was shoplifting eggs. And she said, I'm sorry, I have no money to feed my family because we've destroyed this country so much. And he felt bad for her. He went and paid for the eggs. And then he went and got his buddies together and got a bunch of food for her and brought her a bunch of food. That's what cops are supposed to be, citizen on patrol, citizens. They're not above us. They're beside us. And that's what they need to think about when they're taught that constitutionalists are bad. Let's go to that clip. That'll be all for today from our live presentation here on Saturday, December 20th, 2014. Thank you very much for joining us. Once again, please become a member of PrisonPlanet.tv if you are watching this on YouTube. I can't stress it enough. It supports everything we do here. We do appreciate your support. Check out InfoWarsStore.com or InfoWarsShop.com or InfoWarsLife.com. All kinds of products there to educate your mind, help your body, make clean water, whatever you want. We got it. So thank you for joining us once again. And we're going to play the full 5-minute clip, Sheriff Knezovich. Here it is for you once again. All for you. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, Rosie. Yes, sir. See you tomorrow, brother. You too, baby. Always and forever, brother.
So what is this for? What do you got? What is this?
This is basically a like a shield for us, for a team to hide behind. It's bulletproof.
What situation would you be in that you would need to pull this out?
We have guys that shoot at police officers. So like they have AK-47s or automatic weapons, and they shoot at us. And this is like a rolling, we can use this as a shield to move the team
I mean,
closer.
so what do you call that kind of a vehicle?
This is a MRAP, they call it.
MRAP, wow.
So it's a military surplus vehicle the military went away from.
But now the local police are using it for rioters or things like that, like Black Friday. You just have Black Friday. That could have been a situation.
Basically, it's just it's cover for our team movements. And it's bulletproof, so there's a lot of people out there with heavy machine guns and heavy weapons, and we use it it's bulletproof, so we can use it as a shield.
And I know there's a lot of people concerned in that the military turning on our own citizens in case there were some event that would trigger that. How do you guys feel about that?
They can't use it.
Constitutionally, Obama's just kind of stepping all over anything constitutional right now, so I think people are really afraid of their government right now. And then when you see this kind of a vehicle on I mean, it seems like this is a campaign, right? All these police officers out in front of Walmart.
It's not a campaign. We're shopping with the children.
It's you are okay. So there's something else.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
this is the kids in there shopping.
Oh sure. But you know, from a parent, from a citizen.
The kids love to see this stuff for the SWAT team and stuff.
Sure.
And
yeah. Well, my son would too.
Yeah.
But then, as a citizen and someone who's raising children in a world that I don't know what it's going to look like with them, I feel like this is also a kind of a desensitization type of tool, where they're going to think it's normal. You know, a lot of kids grow up and AK-47s in the hands of people policing them while they're going to school is normal.
Times are crazy right now. The world is crazy right now.
Everything changed.
Everything's going crazy. So,
I mean, I know you guys are on the front line and you need to be protected, but I know there's a lot of people worried about that turning on citizens who are deemed to be, you know, terrorists, and that is a very loose term now. Who is a terrorist?
It's worldwide.
Yeah.
It's everywhere. Sad.
Well, the nice thing about this piece of equipment is that if somebody is directing fire toward a team that's trying to get in, they can pull right up to a front, take enemy fire, and still try to address the threat without being fear of getting shot.
So I'm thinking that is totally appropriate in Iraq, but what kind of a situation in the U.S. would you see that happening?
I mean, we've got a lot of constitutionalists and a lot of people that stockpile weapons, a lot of ammunition. I mean, we've got a lot of constitutionalists and a lot of people that stockpile weapons, a lot of ammunition. They have weapons here locally.
Do you think that's their right to have those, or do you think that that's inappropriate? I mean, because not all those people don't always turn on their government. They don't turn on the cops unless there's, you know, I guess reason they think to do that. And some of them are pretty in crazy land. Some of them, but
well, you know, it's worldwide. The world's unstable right now. When you look anywhere, you watch the news, you watch
open borders. I know.
You know, I mean, we could have this debate. I mean, we could all sit here and talk about it all day long. Our thing is here's what for the kids today.
Right.
You know, and we're showing them our equipment. We're not making it a mystery. It's not a. You know, if we get officers that are pinned down, this is a great rescue vehicle to get them out of a situation. I mean, there's been so much in the news.
So up there, is that where basically you can attach some type of a automatic
those are
weapon?
Lifting points for a crane.
Oh, okay.
To lift the body off of if they had to do some work on it or something, those are lifting points.
Okay. Or dropping points with a helicopter. You had to drop in.
Oh yeah, they're in a helicopter. Yeah, and our helicopter's small.
Okay, wouldn't pick us up.
You can barely fit 3 guys in it.
Oh.
Our helicopter.
And it actually had a rounded area, so if you actually were to
that
get
part
up
could have been a turret.
that part has actually been removed from.
But it could be replaced. Could a turret be put back on that?
I suppose you could if we don't have one. If that makes sense.
You don't have one yet.
No, we got rid of it because we don't use it. We don't use it for that.
But if there was ever a need that someone said you needed to now use it, you could replace it up there.
I suppose you could mount whatever you wanted on it, but I mean that's not the purpose. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean this highly concerns me because as a citizen I'm thinking, why do you need this kind of a vehicle on U.S. soil?
To rescue
and
people.
Putting it out in front of a Walmart to desensitize children that this is okay to be in a world growing up with. You're going to see these more often.
Sold out for weeks due to the difficult and extensive proprietary process behind its creation, the exclusive InfoWars Life Secret 12 formulation is now back in stock in the last limited shipment of 2014. The most bioactive form that has been created with our proprietary process. This ultra-clean vitamin B12 nutraceutical has been carefully crafted and developed over the last 2 years and is based on cellular science of how your body actively absorbs essential nutrients. Secret 12 is taken by mouth, right on the tongue, and then swallowed. No needles, no injections. Vitamin B12 deficiency is linked to scores of serious problems. And Secret 12 is a fusion of 2 organic proprietary forms of vitamin B12, bringing you a true nutraceutical quality vitamin B12. Secret 12. Secret 12 is an excellent Christmas gift and is tailor-made to boost your New Year's resolutions. Supplies of Secret 12 are very limited. Secure yours today at InfoWarsLife.com or by calling toll-free 888-253-3139. 2015 is almost here, and with it comes those New Year's resolutions to finally transform your body the way you want it. There's a reason over 88% of New Year's resolutions fail. Make this year different by equipping yourself with Oxy Powder, the next level in cleansing the body naturally. Using super oxygenation, Oxy Powder, available through InfoWarsLife.com, gently cleanses the body while you sleep with easy capsules. Tens of thousands of individuals have used Oxy Powder to cleanse their bodies and aid in their transformations. Even InfoWars Nightly News Director Rob Dew has been using Oxy Powder with incredible success.
Took it that first day, and then I took it for 6 more days after that. 12 pounds melted off in about a week. I'd say a week, 7 days.
2015 can be different. Diet and exercise are important, but a lot of us have already tried that. Oxy Powder flushes it out. Secure your Oxy Powder at InfoWarsLife.com. That's InfoWarsLife.com or 888-253-3139. In the past decade, we have witnessed unparalleled scientific discoveries in the area of health. But no one has put together a formula that focuses directly on brain health, nerve growth factors, and optimizing your cellular energy at the same time. DNA Force is one of the most expensive formulas to produce. Some of the ingredients in DNA Force are $12,000 a kilogram. We are using the coveted, patented, only American source of PQQ, CoQ10, and more. You want the best that's out there at the lowest price anywhere? Well, we're bringing you a total win-win. The ultimate value, cutting-edge, trailblazing game changer that also supports the InfoWar. We have produced a limited run of DNA Force, and it will take up to 12 weeks to produce more once we sell out. Secure your DNA Force today at InfoWarsLife.com or call toll-free 888-253-3139. DNA Force from InfoWars Life.
The Molon Lave Silver Coin, certified by the Provident Mint. This 1-ounce silver round is 0.999% fine silver, inspired by the legendary Spartan king Leonidas and his refusal to lay down arms in defiance of Emperor Xerxes. Molon Lave, that's Greek for come and take it. This is available now at InfoWarsStore.com. Act now as supplies are limited. And don't forget, free shipping and a free gift. That's InfoWarsStore.com.
For all of recorded history, civilizations around the world praised the health benefits of silver. At InfoWars Life, our mission is to bring you the highest quality, purest, cleanest, effective colloidal silver on the market today for the lowest price available. You don't have to be a doctor to know. The fall and winter months are the most dangerous time of year in North America when it comes to you and your family's health. InfoWarsLife.com is very excited to announce our biggest run yet of Silver Bullet colloidal silver, exclusively available at InfoWarsLife.com. Now, InfoWarsLife.com has taken colloidal silver to the next level using a cutting-edge technique that is free of toxic artificial additives. Now more than ever, it's important to stock up on high-quality Silver Bullet from InfoWarsLife.com and to help others during Christmas by teaching them about the powerful benefits of silver. Secure your Silver Bullet today at InfoWarsLife.com or by calling toll-free 888-253-3139.
Celebrate the spirit of freedom and liberty upon which our nation was founded at InfoWarsShop.com. Molon Lave is ancient Greek for come and take it. This popular design combines both classic Greek Spartan imagery with modern M16 assault rifles. Now available in women's tees and proudly made in the USA. Celebrate the spirit of 1776 with the George Washington brass belt buckle or this incredibly sharp-looking 1776 hat. Badass. And be sure to check out the new arrivals at InfoWars Life, where you can prepare your body to perform at peak levels with Survival Shield Nascent Iodine, Super Male Vitality, and Fluoride Shield. And wake up, America. Immune Support Blend is the healthy choice for the gourmet coffee lover. So get incredibly high-quality, freedom-based products and help fund the revolution at InfoWarsShop.com.
You are watching the InfoWars Nightly News, which airs 7 p.m. Central at InfoWarsNews.com. Members can share their passcodes with up to 11 other people, and your support is helping us defend liberty worldwide.
Police using social media posts to determine the threat score of suspects. As I pointed out in